Hello, my absolutely beautiful astrology soulmates, and welcome to your horoscope for October of 2024, where this month we are coming into the month with this new moon solar eclipse. But the thing I like about it is that, yes, we're eclipsing, but I don't feel like this is the eclipse, at least in the general, that is the most impactful. This is instead a continuation of the story, breathing some fresh life into something that we've already been developing. So it's going to be really nice to check in on this and see what the influence is and how that impacts each of the different signs, of course, as we travel throughout October. And before we jump in and really get talking, you can click in the description box down below and find the timestamps for your particular sign, going Aries through Pisces. So just click down there and check it out. And I get asked all the time, should I listen to my sun, my moon, my rising? I will say in the general, these are built for your sun sign, but you may find it easier to listen for your rising. But I highly suggest just listen for the sun sign video, okay? Man, I am thrilled to be talking about October because, first of all, we're also coming into this space where, we have really seen a lot of how we've traveled throughout the year. And because we've got such a maximum amount of retrograde activity coming in, we're kind of at this place where we get to pause and look around on where the world has unfolded, where we've unfolded, what we've done with that, where we've come from, where we're ready to surrender. It's a really nice looking out, looking over kind of place. So I think that October has a lot of that to offer. And especially as we get ready at the end of October to bring in Scorpio season, the reflection and the introspection that all of this retrograde activity has brought to the table, I think is going to do us a lot of good as we get ready for the newness that the next season brings in. Now, if we haven't met before, I'm professional practicing astrologer Stormie Grace, and I practice evolutionary and humanistic astrology. So if that is the kind of content that you like, the lens you like your astrology to come through, then I'm absolutely here. And that's what we've got going on. Couple announcements before we break down what this month has to offer in the general. First of all, I'm pumped. I am pumped. We have had the digital transit calendars every year for the last few years with our friend Tiffany Harlick over at Wise Skies Astrology. And you guys, the 2025 calendars are up. They are ready. There's a link in the description box down below. And if you use my code, you're going to get a little bit of a discount on that calendar. And if you've never seen the digital transit calendar, click that link and just check it out. It is loaded every day. The transits that are happening in the sky, it's coming right to your phone and it sets a little alert. I love it. So when the void of course moon is coming in, or when we're getting ready to have that Mercury square Chiron, or whatever it is, you have the transits in your pocket and you can see the view for the entire year. I absolutely love it. And I know that this year Tiffany has put in some additional updates for the people who like fixed star interpretations. For those of you who wanted to know what is exactly the planetary aspect before the moon goes void, of course, she's got you covered in there as well. This is one of my favorite resources and tools to share every year. So click down there, grab your digital transit calendar, and let's let the astrology come right to your phone. Now, the other announcement we have is that it is time for the YouTube 5-day breakthrough challenge that's going to be happening in November. So if you're a creative entrepreneur, you do tarot, you do astrology, you do accounting, okay, whatever it is, and you want to learn how to use YouTube, you want some guidance so your channel will actually grow, you don't know where to start at all, but you can see that YouTube might be a resource for you. Let me tell you, it can. Well, come and join my 5-day breakthrough challenge where I'm going to show you how to create YouTube videos. I'm going to show you my proven strategy. And the strategy that I use is not about getting you likes. So don't worry, you don't have to become the next celebrity. I teach you how to use YouTube, build it into your business so that you can be profitable with it. You can be a very small channel and be profitable using YouTube as a resource to your business. So if you're ready to change your life, if you've been thinking, I need another financial resource to come into my life, if you just have something that you want to share, somebody wants to hear your message, and it's probably not just one person. So if you want to learn to YouTube, be live with me, get 5 weeks of my attention to help you grow this thing, come on in here. Don't stay out there and be confused. Don't say, oh, I'm going to start my YouTube channel next year. Let's go. Come on in here. Let me just help you streamline that thing. You can get signed up for that in the description box down below as well. So a lot's in the description box down below. Click down there. There's good stuff going on. Okay, into the month we go here for October. Now, first and foremost, like I said, we're starting out this month on the 2nd with this new moon solar eclipse happening at 10 degrees of Libra. Now, this is eclipse 5 of 6 that we have seen in the Aries and Libra axes. So we've been working on this Libra side. We've been working on the Aries side, and the South Node has also been working on the Libra side to pull out where there's been imbalance, where there's been too much codependency, where there's been too much we, and you've needed to rebalance a little bit more to the we. So again, depending on the house that this is happening in for you, what we're getting some insight in here is where you get to plant your seeds of intention, but it's an eclipse. It blots us out, right? You get a reset. So you're looking at the same plan, the same things that you have learned, but you have such a different perspective. So right here on the 2nd, you've gone along, you've grown, you've developed, and you had this plan. The eclipse happens, and certainly in the next 2 weeks, getting us to the full moon, you're going to go, oh, no, I can still go down this road. I just need to adjust the plan of how I'm going there because it's not as balanced as I thought it would be. Oh, I just need to course correct this a little, or I'm not sure how to do that. I think I need to bring a resource into my life. I'm just not sure which one it is. Plant your seeds of intention here on the 2nd at this particular eclipse to allow those resources to come to you. Now, Mercury is heavily involved in this eclipse as well. So as we're looking at the influence of Mercury on this eclipse, we can see that the story is also going to be that there has to be a lot of conversation. The balance of the mind and the words have to come together in what you are planting, right? It's giving this extra emphasis to connect and to communicate. Find that resource. Ask a question about the resource. Say it out loud. Write, journal what is not in balance for you. Ask somebody to create a resource or a partnership with you. Absolutely. But we also see that this eclipse is in a square to Mars. Now, Mars is down here, having been in the energy of Cancer, and Mars is again going to take this retrograde, but not for a few months. But as this eclipse is squaring Mars, it's again an indicator to me that it's like your desire, what you desire is probably right, but how you're going about getting to it, that's what needs the push. That's what needs the shuffle, because this is not going to work out in the way that you were going to attempt to get it done previously, okay? So it's not like this is a bad thing. It's simply we got to do this a little bit differently. The other thing that I really like about this particular lunation is thinking about, well, what's the ruling planet of this lunation doing? Venus. Venus is in a wonderful conversation with Saturn at this time. So this to me gives us that breath of, oh my gosh, instead of being afraid it's not going to work out or it's never going to happen for me, or Stormie, listen, I'm done growing, I don't want any more growing. Venus-Saturn trine connection here is this story of it's okay. There's an ease to it. You have the stamina. You have the belief you can do hard things, but you're like being coached in a really lovely way instead of it feeling so forceful, right? Now, to the extent at this particular new moon solar eclipse and panning over this next 6 months, to the extent that you push against that Mars, i.e., you're not listening to emotionally what you need to nurture yourself, to nurture this project, to nurture this new path, this new relationship, will be to the extent that it feels really, really hard and complicated. So I would encourage you, don't weigh this against just the intellectual proposition. Yes, if I want to build a house, I need to do A, B, and C, but also the emotional portion. Do you really want to build the house? Or is it that you just want to have a solid, beautiful place to call home, right? Investigate that emotional dynamic just a little bit. Now, it's a lunation. Things can pop up with the family. Mars is in Cancer. So there is a real possibility that things are revealed or unfolded, or there's a little chaos or a little dramas kicking up with our family. So this would be a time I would be paying attention to it and going, okay, this is not the end of days. It's actually going to provide the course correction that is needed here, even if it has felt inflammatory, okay? On the 9th, we're going to see Jupiter go retrograde in the vibration of Gemini, and it's going to retrograde all the way back to 11 degrees. So you're watching your individual chart for 11 degrees of Gemini to 21 degrees of Gemini. And if you don't have your personal chart yet, please click in the description box down below and come get one from me. And if you do have your chart, but you're not sure how to find this, I'll put the how to try and find an active transit video at the end of this one to show you how to do that, okay? But as we're going to experience this Jupiter retrograde, first of all, we have to think about what happened as Jupiter came into Gemini. Now, Jupiter came into Gemini and it gathered and expanded the resources, the networks, the words, the ideas, the thoughts, maybe even some things came back from the past. And it's like, oh, I could go any direction with these things, right? So it busied the area very much so. And it was about bringing fulfillment, bringing expansion, taking on something that is really about happiness. But what it also did was show us where we've got distracted behaviors, right? This is a behavior that's not going to work out for us. It could have really increased our attention to things we're addicted to. You know, you're like, Stormie, I don't drink, I don't do drugs. Yeah, but how much are you shopping? How much are you scrolling? How many courses do you have that you haven't actually finished, right? So Jupiter is expanding these things. But now as Jupiter is going to take this retrograde all the way until February of 2025, we get to cut back. We get to reduce that and go, okay, here's everything in the corral. Now, which things am I actually going to keep? Because you can only be a part of so many networks and have so many ideas if you're going to actually do the Jupiterian thing, which is fulfill them. Fulfill them. Look at the ones that you can actually go down and develop, that will develop your wisdom through experience, that will fulfill you, that will make you happy, allow you to be successful, that will show you destructive behaviors that need to be cut out, right? That's the very Jupiterian thing. Now, on the other side of this retrograde, I'll just say in 2025, where you cut back, kind of playing the tape, you know, from the end back to the middle at this point, look at on the other side of this retrograde in 2025, I'm cutting back these weeds in my garden because I really will feel fulfilled to give, to teach, to offer out this particular thing. But I need to own and hone and be taught my skills of it right now, okay? So to play that backwards, it's like, where do you want to end up? And maybe that helps you see during this retrograde where to cut back, cut off, and cut out, okay? Now, on the 11th, we are going to see that Pluto is coming direct at that 29 degrees of Capricorn. Pluto's been working through Capricorn since 2008, so we have been... we've been stirred. We've been stirred. It's not Uranus and Taurus where we are shaken and not stirred, but we have been stirred. Some things have definitely gotten different. Now, not only for us personally have the structures that have authored our lives, the stories, the beliefs of what you can have, who can have it, the limitations, understandings of business and money, our parents, the authority stories around that. These have all shifted, but also the world. Pluto is an outer planet, so our outer world has changed in the structure that it exists in as well. How do we earn? Who's in power? What is power, right? These structures have shifted. So as Pluto has been operating at this 29 degrees of Capricorn in the first place, it's a powerful and important degree. It's an anaretic degree. It triggers massive transformation, most of which give us these really strong brushes with death, right? We start to understand death in many different concepts, from the physical act of death to the fact that we live alongside of death every single day. But how do we have mastery over death while we're in life? Psychological death and dying off of relationships, our own pain points have been brought to the surface about how do we earn, how do we fit into society, and these kinds of things. But everything that has been under revelation, especially especially during this last bit of a retrograde, has been brought to the surface to, one, show you how much mastery you have in this area, that you can do hard things, and that maybe you have to learn to earn a little bit differently, that story doesn't need to author your life anymore. You can pick a new one. How do you delegate? All of these things have had a shift, right? But they've come to the surface now. They're not in hiding for you to be able to build forward, but you're going to build like an Aquarius in this next iteration of how you'll show up in the world. So hopefully you take it as an opportunity as well at this 29 degrees to go, damn it, I made it through 2008, and how am I different? And how do I understand the difference in what governs my life? When we get to the 13th, we've got Mercury moving into the vibration of Scorpio. And when Mercury goes anywhere, first of all, it gets busy. It gets busy. So he's busying the space, right? So more calls, more texts, more information, more conversation. But there's an intensity that comes with the conversation. There's an intensity that comes along with the thinking as well, because it's very scorpionic. So we're not having shallow conversation. We're not having shallow thinking. We're thinking below the surface. There's a bit of digging that's going on here. But also what I think is brilliant about Mercury and Scorpio is it is focused, because you want the answers to what you're asking questions of. You want the answer that's below the surface. You don't want to say, oh, hi, how are you doing today? And somebody's like, oh, I'm good. You're like, I'd like to know about your soul story today. How is the state of your soul? Are you fed? Have you eaten? When's the last time you talked to your mom? How does that make you feel, right? We're getting into this kind of energy. Now, in terms of getting things done, working on a project or something like that, Mercury is bringing in all of that delicious brain and intellect power and information power, and Scorpio is bringing the focus, so you can probably get done exactly what you want to get done, or at least gather the data and the information to you. Even if it's the information and data is emotional, coming from family members, romantic partners, around finances, you can gather the data, and then we'll do a lot more with it, I think, at the end of the month as the sun gets into Scorpio. But before that, on the 17th, we've got the full moon happening at 24 degrees of Aries. Now, this is a full moon. It's not an eclipse. It's just the full moon. So it's asking us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. We need to make a pivot here at this particular point. Now, first, I do think any seeds of intention that you planted at the beginning of this month, that there was a lack of clarity around them for some reason under that Libra vibration. Now, when we're here at the full moon in Aries, you're clearer. You're like, oh, in order to have that balance, I see what I need to do, because Aries is this is what I need to do. I have to initiate this. I have to take charge of this energy. And it's really this space of, when we want interdependence, there has to be the me and the we, and there can't be too much me, there can't be too much we. So on the balancing point of this fulcrum, it's going, okay, let me see what I need to do, and let me see what I need to put down and pivot, because I've been doing too much. So it's a really nice balancing act. But remember, whatever you're stepping towards with this Aries full moon, that the node has also been working here. So there's clarity. I think that you get to show up in warrior, become this sacred gardener in your own life in a very different way, and hopefully with a hell of a different level of confidence as well, okay? As we're going to close out this month on the 22nd, the sun is going to move into Scorpio. I don't know if that needed a song, but Scorpio, happy birthday. I felt like we need a little jam there for a minute. Happy birthday to Scorpio, and happy birthday to the Scorpio areas of our charts as well, because this is the annual beginning of really being motivated. The sun brings light, heat, life, and motivation to this area. So in the Scorpio area of your chart, at the end of the month, Mercury's been working, bringing facts and details, and now it's time to do stuff. We are motivated to get in and to get down with what needs transformation, what needs dying off, what needs evolution and elevation in this particular area of your chart. So Scorpio season is taking us there, and it's taking us deeply into, what am I so deeply passionate about that if you were to look inside of me, you would either be so erotically tapped into me, or you'd be mystified and scary, blown away, that you're like, wow, you are good at that. Wow. Like it's this blowing away kind of energy. But also to the other side, what really deeply motivates me, that if you looked at me, you'd be like, Seems like you're in a lot of fear around that. Let's talk about that fear so we can get to the root of that and get that cleared up so that you can drive more passionately and more freely in the direction of what you'd like to build and what you'd like to experience. So Scorpio season is going to take us there. All right, my beautiful friends, click in the description box down below, get your digital transit calendar, get signed up for the YouTube course if that's you and you want to tuck in live with me, and definitely click down there, go to your individual sign and check out what the month has to hold for you in the unfoldings of your particular houses. I love you a ton, you guys, and I can't believe it's October and I'm still as much in love with you as we started the year. So jump in here, check out the rest of the journey of October, and I'll see you in the weeklies and I'll see you in November. Bye, everyone. Hello, my absolutely beautiful Aries friends, and welcome to your horoscope for October of 2024, where Aries, this month, we've got another eclipse, and it's right as we enter the month, and it's going to be in your 7th house. So we know that the 7th house has got a lot of push, a lot of emphasis. And we've also got a full moon happening in your sign this month. So really this axis of relationships is going to get a lot of attention. And the eclipse that we're having at the beginning of the month also involves your ruling planet Mars. So there's going to be some particular shifting that is definitely happening for you here in October. And while shift is always happening, Aries, one of the things that I want to bring your attention to here in October is that this is really so much more about you having the space to redefine yourself in not only your own being, and kind of with that full moon ending an old story of yourself that doesn't belong anymore, and giving yourself space to pivot into the new story. And that new story is literally how you're going to show up in your relationships. It is the next version of you that's going to participate at a different level in all of your relationships. I absolutely love it. So let's get in here, Aries, and talk about what's going on this month so you can get out and be living your life, okay? So right at the beginning of the month on the 2nd, we have got a new moon solar eclipse, and this one is happening at 10 degrees of Libra. So again, you need to make sure that you have got your natal chart so that you can see where this 10 degrees of Libra is happening. What house is this actually in for you? And this is also a point where we want to consider with this eclipse, we've had plenty of them in the Aries and Libra axes, right? This is actually the 5th eclipse that has happened here in this axis. However, this is a time where you are beginning something. You are setting a new cycle in motion right now. We're going to check in on the progress that you make from setting these intentions July of 2025. So we're really packing a punch to begin something new here, and it is in your 7th house, conscious, chosen, one-on-one relationships. So as we are looking at how this impacts you, first of all, this eclipse is going to be around your current relationships that you have in your life, whether they are business partnerships, romantic relationships, you with yourself, you with whatever you call a higher power. Some of you may have legal relationships that are going on, and you know you're in a legal relationship with somebody, like you know who's on the other side of that court case, okay? So it's not a mystery. So it's not a mysterious thing. But whatever is happening in your conscious chosen one-on-one relationships, there's really this energy of, first of all, we want to go in a new direction, right? That's what the new moon does. We plant seeds to go in a new direction. And the direction is really about what has been buried here or what's been going on that actually needs a bit of an adjustment. Because this eclipse is squared to Mars, and there's also this connection between Mercury at this lunation as well. What I want to say is there's a lot of information coming up, I think, at this particular eclipse around your relationships. Whether it's your information or your partner's information, you will be impacted, but maybe it's not super clear. You maybe don't have all of the information that is available just yet. And some of this, I think, becomes more apparent as we get to the full moon that happens later in the month, because there's so much of you. There's a new version of you. The way that you regard yourself, the lessons that you have learned over this last year have really changed you and shifted you. Maybe even projects or products that you were working on are finished now, so they're off your plate. So you're available in relationship in a really different way. Now, I will say this. eclipse, as always, when we're dealing with the relationship axes, any major developments that come up here come down to really one or two things. If the relationship is good and able to continue to build in a solid direction, that's what it will do. Even if there's some bumps in the road, you got to iron some things out, then it will continue to grow in that particular direction. Right? Because there's Mars Saturn also in conversation at this eclipse as well. So you're like, oh, okay, this is all right. I can work on it. We'll still work on it, right? However, if there are relationships that have cracks in the cement that are too deep to repair, the relationships will break apart. Now, whatever the status of that looks like, what I want you to remember is that the universe is kind, and it is always in a conspiracy to have us on the right vibration on our journey. And sometimes that means that it has to get us out of alignments that are not right for us. But the best thing to do, no matter what comes up around your relationships, is have the conversation, have the discussion. Mercury is powerful, I think, at this particular eclipse. So ask the questions, have the conversation, look at where you can listen to all perspectives of what is being presented to you, right? You need this information to plant your seeds of intention and build something new. All right, when we get to the 9th, we're going to see that Jupiter is now taking its retrograde in the energy of Gemini. Now, this retrograde is going to start at 21 degrees of Gemini, okay? And we're going to back all the way up to 11 degrees of Gemini. Now, if you go back to July 15th of this year, 2024, and you go to 11 degrees of Gemini in your personal chart, and you look all the way from 11 degrees of Gemini to 21 degrees of Gemini, which house or houses does this encompass for you? Because those are the things that are going to be under review over this next handful of months. Now, Jupiter goes retrograde every year. Every year it takes a tour for about 4 months out of the year. It's retrograde, so this is not uncommon or anything like that. Instead, it's an opportunity to kind of take your feet off the gas, right? You don't have to push forward anymore. Instead, this is going to be about review. Now, Jupiter retrograde in Gemini has been working in the general on your third house space. So when Jupiter goes retrograde, it's really more about, we first of all turn inward, we go inside to see where our own magic is at, where our own gifts and talents and blessings have been given to us in this area. And we have to look at where we have, first of all, grown with them, where our intuition is stronger, and where we can use those gifts and talents when Jupiter comes direct in an outward way, right? When we are moving into the world that is coming next, where can you share? This is where you have a natural gift to be teaching or to share a message, but you have to come from the inside and understand your own knowledge, your own reflections that have come to you, and then you share them in an outward way when Jupiter comes direct. Now, for those of you that do have Jupiter retrograde in your chart, instead of running inside during this cycle, you are running outside. You've been spiritually reflecting on this for months, and now it is time for you to go practice in an outward way what will allow this growth and development, your expansion, your happiness, your success, your real benefits to come to you. And in the third house space, this is going to be conceptions around communication. Writing, including writing that book, writing that website, building that course, taking a course. Maybe you want to study something. People in your network. Oh my goodness, Aries, who's in your network that are like foreign people? Have you learned a foreign language? Did you move to a foreign land? Do you have new people who are literally, they're speaking language that sounds foreign to you, but you're here to learn. You're like, yes, I want to know about it. Are they talking about wealth cycles? And you're like, yes, I want to know about that. Also, though, this Jupiter retrograde could be bringing some really profound information around what's happening in siblings and with siblings, okay? Siblings, cousins, neighbors. So keep your eye on that, all right? When we get to the 11th, we see Pluto now coming direct in the vibration of Capricorn. Now, we did a great tour since 2008. We have been doing the tour of Pluto through Capricorn, okay? So we've been in it. We've been in it for a while. But Pluto here at the 29 degrees of Capricorn coming direct is first of all going to bring your attention to, okay, it's time to move this area forward again. And this is in your career, Aries. This is big career changes. And they are coming in profound ways into your life because you've had time during this Pluto retrograde. Pluto went into retrograde in May. What has changed in your career, your soul level calling, your public reputation? What has changed? Because with the reflection, with the work, with things dying off, this different version of Aries driving the cart, now you are empowered to move forward. But this is the thing I love about the 29 degree of Capricorn. You are choosing to make this decision because you realize you don't want to live in the old structure of the world that authored your life before. Now, the other portion of this that I think is particularly helpful, Aries, is that the world has changed at 29 degrees of Capricorn, right? You may have different opportunities for earning. Goodness knows you could be a coach, you could be doing something online. Are you a digital nomad, right? This very Aquarian vibration, because that's where the energy is going to go next. You could have stepped into massive leadership in organizations, whereas before maybe you were not really thinking about it. You were like, yeah, I'll just work for a company for the rest of my life, get my retirement, and it'll just all work out. And now you are like, that is not for this version of Aries. You know what I mean? You are really going, I am not so sure about that. So this gives you an opportunity now to, first of all, have had that integration with the changes that have come around your career. And as Pluto comes out of its retrograde and is beginning to move forward here, you have an opportunity to step into those changes that have been made, move boldly, move with a sense of confidence, realign with the ambitions of the life that you want. And here's the last thing I want to say about it. When Pluto pops back into that Aquarian vibration, it's going to be really important for you to be powerfully clear, Aries, on what you want to do next, because you need to put yourself quite intentionally in the same rooms of the people that are going in the direction of the life you would like to live when Pluto gets back into this Aquarian vibration. So really be thinking about that this month, but celebrate where you are definitely empowered, okay? On the 13th, we have got Mercury moving into the vibration of Scorpio, and this is going to light up your 8th house space. So when we're looking at the 8th house, we're looking at things that have to do with intimacy and assets. So first of all, this is going to be any place where you are intimately connected. So committed partnerships, even if that's, again, a business partnership or something like that, but the intimacy that's actually there, concepts about sex, about transformation in relationships. Now, this could also be that, your deep connection that you have with another human being very intimately is in therapy. We go into therapy and we have these deep, intimate connections of vulnerability with those we're sharing about, right? It's Mercury. You're talking about some things, your thoughts, your communication is really about, it's vulnerable, it's deep. You're not at the surface level at all. You're asking and being asked questions that, they probe a little bit deeper. They get below the surface and try to get to the root of what's going on. They also will be answers and conceptions and communications that get you into your feelings and your body and out of your head. Okay, so this is a really interesting time. Now, what I love about it is that, again, it's a space where your mentality, your thinking is going, what is the truth here? What really motivates me? What really drives me? What's driving this relationship? That's a really deep question, right? What's driving this collaboration? What's driving my desire to financially invest in this thing? So in the 8th house as well, this could be that your partner is bringing up a lot of stuff to the depth. Okay, because this is the 8th house energy. Maybe you guys are making a plan together to reduce debt or to bring some kind of cycle of motivation into your life. You're very passionate about something. You're detoxing what needs to be cleaned out. Other things that happen when we get into the 8th house, especially Mercury, who is highly over commerce and business, is things that have to do with taxes, inheritance, real estate planning, estate planning, inheritance. And we cannot miss that the 8th house also can bring news of death. Now, whatever that death happens to be, if that is, the plan died off and it's not going to work, maybe did someone in your family pass away and now you're going through all of those details, the funeral arrangements, the will, lots of connections. Now, the thing to also remember, and we're not very good about this in the American society, is talking about these conceptions and ideas of death. So I want to give you an opportunity to, first of all, think about it in two ways. One, in life, we have to learn mastery over death and the concept that it is there and we interact with it daily. As human beings, certainly as women, we die off every single day. We die off every single month. So connecting to this, where, Aries, are you even looking in your life right now where you're like, oh my God, I have been doing business. I have been living my life in a very masculine container. I die off every month. I'm not the same version of me every week. I need to decide, Mercury, to live in the cycle of death that is natural because it also breeds new life, right? So this is a way to really look at this and conceptualize this thing. And the other is really to embrace the profoundness that if you don't weed the garden, if we don't go out and weed the garden of our choices, of our intentions, of our words, our actions, what lives there is a dead garden. You cannot have new healthy life if you don't clear away what is died off, okay? All right, when we get to the 17th, now we have got this full moon that is happening at 24 degrees of Aries. So lighting up just brilliantly over here, your first house energy. The focus becomes on you. So here, though, you are being asked to end something, acknowledge something, or make a pivot. Okay, so you may be needing to pivot from something that you've been doing or you've been engaged in for quite some time, Aries. Now, really, we want to again follow the lunar family, first of all, to see, okay, what is it I'm being asked to pivot from? Go back to April 20th of 2023. We had an eclipse. It was a new moon eclipse. So you were planting seeds of intention to begin something new at 29 degrees of Aries. So right then you were setting an energy in motion. Okay. Now, when we got to January of 2024 at that first quarter moon that was at 27 degrees of Aries, you were in action. What were you tearing down and you started to build something else up? What in yourself were you starting to tear down and build something else up? Is this a new image that you are bringing to the world? Is this a redefining of yourself? Is this, acceptance of yourself? That's a huge one. What has been changing that you've been tearing down and rebuilding? Because now, here in October, you're being asked to pivot. Some things aren't needed on the journey anymore. Some people, some things in your relationships are not needed on the journey anymore. So it's time to either end it, make an acknowledgement of what is right now, and pivot if you need to. Okay, so it's really a lovely, lovely full moon. I can't wait to see in the comment section what you share that you've learned where you needed to pivot here. Now, this particular lunation is going to form a T-square to Mars that's in Cancer. And if you haven't watched my video with Nicholas Palomanakis, I will make sure it is at the end of this video about the Mars in Cancer story, because this is a big deal. It's going to take us all the way to February. So these are changes for you, Aries, in your home, family, real estate, property, all things in the domestic zone, especially things at a deeper emotional level. Now, what you're learning about how you're redefining yourself or what you are pivoting from could cause you to make significant changes in your home life. Absolutely, because they are pouring through the tip of this Martian energy, right? This Mars energy is going, I don't know that that is in alignment with what I want to do. I don't know that that meets my emotional needs anymore. So you are really in this, I think, symbolic space where you're being asked to cut away or to take action to make changes in your home and your domestic zone. Last thing I want to say about this is that this moon square to Mars can absolutely bring, it's like inflation. Yeah, sure, inflation, but it's inflammation of things in the home zone. So it can be emotional information that presents itself or an emotional event connected to the family. But more than anything, what I want to say is you just take courage here. Take courage to face whatever's coming up in the home zone. Take courage to express the emotions that need to be expressed. And remember, not everybody's going to like what you have to say, but if you are moving with love, if you are moving with the intention to be honest, not to be harmful, this is definitely a better energy, okay? Now, when we get to the 22nd and we are closing out this month, we are going to bring together this Mercury Scorpio vibration and the Sun Scorpio vibration, because the Sun moves into Scorpio for the next 4 weeks like it does. It's the same every single year. Every time we get here, every year, we're going to start to light up your 8th house space. So as we are lighting up this 8th house space for you, the Sun is illuminating depth. We are going to go a lot more deep. We're going to get into the intimacy. We're going to get into the assets. We're going to get into, like I said, anything that has been dead and it needs to be detoxed out of your system, your relationship. Now, I do think as we enter into this Scorpio season, realizing that Mars is one of the ruling planets of Scorpio, and it's in this Cancerian vibration, you could be hearing of a surgery or something like that that needs to be happening for like a family member or someone you're in partnership with. There's some kind of cutting, I think, that may be presenting itself at this particular time. But in other ways, the Sun is bringing light, heat, life, and vitality. So you're motivated towards healing, towards transformative energy. You're motivated towards detoxing what doesn't need to be here and forming deep intimacy with that which does. So I would look for your opportunities to bring collaborations into your life, to make progress on those loans. The world will be really different by the time we even get to October. So I'll be curious the way that new laws, new financial governances also play into decisions that you are going to make here, okay? But also, as always, when we get to the 8th house season, the Scorpio season, we all begin to have these conversations and experiences again with death. So we want to normalize having the conversations with death or dealing with why we have such resistance to speaking of and understanding death as a part of the living process. This is a great chance to encounter that, because whether it's a psychological death, whether it's an energetic death, whether they are physical deaths that are happening in our lives, Scorpio season causes us to bring what no longer can exist in the vibration out of the garden to make space for that which really passionately, deliciously can live and can grow. All right, my beautiful Aries friends, I hope you have a gorgeous October. Please let me know in the comment section down below how the month is going for you, where you are feeling these changes in yourself, where you're ready to cut away some things that don't work anymore, where you're willing. Hello, my absolutely beautiful Taurus friends, and welcome to your horoscope for October of 2024, where Taurus, we are kicking off this month. We're in eclipse season is really what it is. We came into eclipse season when we were in September, and we are starting off this month. 2 days in, we are starting out with the new moon eclipse. So there's been a lot of really changeable energy going on. We had a Mercury retrograde in between, or just before in August. So the energy has shifted. The outer planets are in retrograde. Jupiter's going to take its retrograde. So this is kind of the point of the year, Taurus, where it's like, okay, hold on, really reground. Reground into your earthiness and take a minute to look around, because the changes are occurring, but also taking a view of where you've been is going to be really important, because as the eclipse is this big news energy of the month, and it really, really is, because it's going to impact you for the next 6 months, right? But as this is coming, it's important to remember that, first of all, this is the 5th eclipse. We usually get 6 in a series, okay? So this is the 5th of 6 eclipses that we've had in this Aries and Libra axes. So you have done well. You have, and even if you don't perceive that you have done well, you have done something. So I want to really encourage you to go back into your notes, into your journal. I'm always telling you to go back in your life and look, because you have to look back at where you came from. But go back to April 20th. Of 2023. And this is when we started this eclipsing story, right? What has changed for you? You began some things there, especially in your own courage, your own being, your own spiritual practices, and the way that you identify with that creativity and that spiritual freedom, the places that you have had addictions or issues that needed to be addressed, and you made a start then. So as we're now here at Eclipse 5 of 6 in Libra, on the other side, in your 6th house, where can you say today solidly you have some different daily routines in your life that are supporting what you tried to begin, over a year ago? So I want you to have a little bit of celebration because the changes are still going to happen, but changes have happened. And that's really important for the Taurus crew, I think, to also have your head around, okay? Now, like I said, we've got that as the hot ticket item of the month, but also we have got Jupiter going into retrograde. We have got Pluto coming direct in Capricorn, and we are also going to begin Scorpio season, which when we do that every year at this time, we start to really hone in and focus on your relationships. So the other thing I want to say before I really jump in with these dates is that Taurus, also get regrounded, because I think that this really is a month and over the next at least 4 weeks where we're going to be really mindful over your health and your wellness and your daily practices that are governing how you're moving in the world. Because when we travel through the rest of November, we're going to be really relationship focused, and you need to be set and you need to be ready. Okay. All right, let's jump in and chat about this whole thing. Now, on the 2nd, we've got that new moon solar eclipse. So this is a beginning, and this is happening at 10 degrees of Libra. And don't worry about not getting a really deep breakdown right now. I will, of course, do a separate eclipse video and walk you through all the gushy details. But what you do want to know is that, first of all, you're planting your seeds of intention here. You are beginning a new cycle, but you're beginning a new cycle in your old cycle. You were here before. If we back up and walk this through in your life, and you go back not only to the things that began in 2023, but if we go back into your life, October of 2005, tell me what you were doing, because you were starting something there, and it had to do with your health. It had to do with your wellness. There was probably something very spiritual connected to it in some way. So what was it? Because you're beginning a newness with more wisdom available to you on the 2nd here in this cycle. Now, what's really important, I think, as well, is that not only are you planting your seeds of intention to begin something. So in your 6th house of wellness, daily routines, fitness, medical things, the way that you treat yourself mentally and you're talking to yourself mentally on a daily basis, the work that you do, right? What are the projects? What is the daily setup of the projects that you do? If you're a freelancer, what kind of projects are you pulling to you? And are they the ones that you really value, right? They are stepping up to that self-worth measure. Or is there some mindset stuff you've got to get out of the way? But also the way that you are being of service to people will come up at this particular time. But also this lunation is in strong conjunction with Mars and Mercury, okay? So this is saying that, first of all, you have got the action, the mind and the body are in a good place here. So you have a lot of starting energy. There is also a Mars-Saturn trine. Your ruling planet Venus is also in good position. So this is a full, lush, delicious start to a new set of healthy practices for you, okay? Now, whenever we're dealing with a lunation as well, we have to think about what is the moon rule. And in general, it's going to be things having to do with the family. So I would say, because the 6th house is also about being of service to others, you may be hearing from parents or people that you consider that you are a parent to them in some way, to include those pets, right? The small pets. And you're needing to take care of them or something, or there's a fresh start coming to that in this next 6 months. So be paying attention to that. Eat really well, take care of yourself, get your fitness routines together so that you're nice and grounded and balanced and feeling beautiful in your being and ready to put your hands out for all the things that are, trying to receive you as well, okay? When we get to the 9th, we're going to see Jupiter going retrograde at 21 degrees of Gemini. Now, we're going to watch Jupiter do this retrograde between 21 degrees of Gemini and 11 degrees of Gemini. So it's the most important thing ever, Taurus, for you to make sure that you have your natal chart, you have got to have your personal chart so that you can see exactly what you're working with. This is what I love about astrology. Outside of the realm of none of us are the higher power, right? There's a lot of things that are just not a mystery. We can just go into the map of our charts and say, oh, I am specifically working on these things, which is great. Well, having Jupiter in Gemini, it is great to simplify things. And that is what you are a master of, because Jupiter in Gemini is throwing around all these different options and it can turn into anxiety. So let's simplify. Grab your natal chart. What house in your chart is 21 degrees to 11 degrees of Gemini lighting up? Now, what's going to be happening as Jupiter's retrograde, what we're looking at during a Jupiter retrograde, is we're going back within. Okay, we're going to spend 4 months going back in for some reflection, for some introspection. It's like, okay, now what's happening with my growth and my development? Where have I grown and I developed, right? Remember that? And it's going to be in the Gemini areas, in how you think, how you speak, how you communicate, mind-body connection. How does your mind speak to the rest of your body? Things with your siblings, things in places that you wanted to develop. Maybe you wanted to develop some writing, or you wanted to go more deeply into studying a course or something like that. And really, I think the other portion of it is because Jupiter is a benefic planet, it encourages you to look within and say, first of all, what do I actually get real joy? What am I real enthusiastic about listening to, learning about, conversations that light me up? But also, where do you already have some innate gifts that now you're going back within and you're like sorting them through, because they're also going to be what you, Jupiter, expand out and give away to other people. So it helps in some way for you to look at, where have you had challenges and struggles in your life, Taurus, and you've come to the other side of them. And now as Jupiter stations direct, when we get to the end of this retrograde, which we're going to see happening in February of 2025, you're likely going to be out there speaking, talking, and sharing that. And it doesn't mean that you're getting paid. It doesn't mean that you're taking on a job, but people could be coming into your life and they're struggling with where you've already been, or they're excited about what you've already learned and they want to learn from you now, which is such a privilege, and how beautiful. Okay, when we get past this Jupiter retrograde and we get to the 11th, we have got Pluto turning direct in Capricorn at 29 degrees, so still rocking this anaretic degree here. And this has been in place for quite some time. We've already come past 29 degrees of Capricorn a few times, okay? So the first thing to know is that this is not new. It's not new information. Okay, you've seen it several times. But I think what it's important to review here is that, first of all, Pluto is coming direct for you in your 9th house of publishing, marketing, broadcasting. Okay, so you have developed something, foreign travel, international travel, new faith, new beliefs, new philosophies. These have all been places that have really been being torn down and destroyed because they didn't work anymore. Energetically, they were not sound anymore. Like an old structure or an old set of authoritarian beliefs that were working for a very long time don't author your life anymore, okay? And when we think back to when Pluto actually went retrograde, one of the things that I like to review is that Pluto went retrograde within a sextile to Mars. So first of all, this was massive courage to change, to really take your own lead and move something forward. So, what did you do, Taurus? What project did you take on? Because you were powerful. When you did it, you were powerful and you were really in alignment with changing the story at that time. So tell me about that. What was happening for you? When was this alignment really apparent to you? Go back into your life a couple times. You can go back, first of all, I think between May of 2023 to October, but then again, this May of 2024 to October, because this dance between the Aquarius and the Capricorn dynamic, right? That 10th and 9th house dance that you've been looking at, you have absolutely made changes. You have had an evolution. Something has died off. Power struggle, control issues, I think, and I hope for you that you have navigated them brilliantly. Now, the other thing to remember is that the world has changed as well, because Pluto is an outer planet, Taurus. So even in your 9th house, the way that you understand wealth, business, global organizations, old systems, even in your governments, in your communities, in your countries that needed to die off to make space for you to live, to work, to do that work in a new way, are now at your fingertips. So let me know in the comment section down below, Taurus, what is this in your particular story and case, okay? When we get to the 13th, we're going to see Mercury move into Scorpio. So we're going to start this conversation about the relationships. Remember, I told you as we get into November, we're going to really be relationshiping, but some conversations are coming up right here in your 7th house. And with Mercury in Scorpio, this is not shallow. We're not having shallow conversations here. It's not like, oh, I do really enjoy spending time with you. It is like, why do we spend time together? What are we building to? What are we both motivated for? What are we deeply, passionately interested in? This is also, I think, a really profound time going all the way until November 2nd while Mercury is here, for conversations that bring about really profound healing. They take you to the other side. This is Scorpio energy. It's analytical. It's intuitive. It is deep. It can be obsessive thinking about a plan. It can be obsessive thinking about a resentment. So the conversations that come from here come from a place that says, I want what is not alive and living and viable here to die off, so that what can be here can really, really live. So look forward in your conscious chosen one-on-one relationships. That's not just your marriage. That's not just your business partnerships. That's a conversation of you with you. That's one of the deepest, most vulnerable conversations that you can have with whatever you call God. That's you with open enemies at the court, right? You know, you're in a court case with someone. And so information, secrets that were buried or things that were unseen might be coming up and being talked about. But whatever it is, what was will die off, and new words, new magic, new opportunities will be uncovered, discovered, discarded, so that this part of your garden and your mind can be really sharp. Because don't forget, Mercury's about your mind. What are those thoughts in the secret corners of your minds that you don't want to talk to anybody about? Your secrets keep you sick, but when you share them, the truth sets you free. But of course, first it pisses you off. All right, on the 17th, we've got a big day energetically. So first of all, we are going to have the full moon happening in Aries at 24 degrees. So again, you want to go to 24 degrees of Aries in your chart. And this is going to light up the 12th house space for you. So it's going back into the space where, again, we've been dancing in this between the 6th house and the 12th house for the last year. Okay, so some of the things here are not new, but instead, what you can understand at this full moon is that the full moon is asking you to end something, to acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment or like a pivot. Okay, you need to pivot in a particular direction from something that you have been building and you have been working on for a while. So again, I point you to the knowledge that some of what you're working on is not a mystery. The unfolding and the full outcome may be the mystery, but what it is, not really. Okay. So when we're looking at this and we're saying, okay, well, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego, but where in the world am I going back to? First of all, you want to go back specifically to April 20th of 2023. And this is where we had a new moon, that eclipse, at 29 degrees of Aries. Okay, so you started something, you began something. So what did you plant your seeds of intention on? What was happening here? Did you say, I want to change my finances? I want to change my romance? What house did this happen in for you? Now, when we got to January of 2024, this is where you were in action, and you've been in action since then. You've been moving. You've either been on the hustle or the soft girl, call it to me vibration, but you have been moving, Taurus. Now in October, first of all, celebrate what you've built. You're under all of the light in the sky. So look, observe what's been illuminated to you. Look at your 12th house in the general, your spiritual life, your creative life, your healing life. Taurus, what's your new relationship with rest, as you understand that rest will absolutely build your business. Rest will build your family. Rest will build your immune system. Rest will build that beauty, right? Where have you learned something of these things? Where have you been created? Whatever it is, observe what has been illuminated. Now, in your path to building here, where do you need to also make a pivot? You got to just change direction. Something doesn't just quite fit anymore. And it's okay to surrender it and pick and commit to a new path. So that's going to be really important to have some acknowledgement about at this particular lunation, okay? Now, again, I'll make a full lunation video so we get all of the ushy-gushy of it outside of this video. Now, the other thing happening here on the 17th is that Venus, your ruling planet, is going to get out of that Scorpio vibration where Venus is like, let me help you get these relationships right. And now Venus is moving into the Sagittarius vibration. So what we've got here is a little bit more fun, a little bit more excitement, right? It's like, oh, okay, this is quite pleasurable. Sagittarius is an energy that is really fun. It's really delicious. It wants to play just a little bit more. So take advantage of what you've learned in Scorpio season about your relationships and let that come forward with Venus and Sagittarius into this 8th house, where now you're gonna lightly go on the adventure of your life. And sometimes when we're talking about the adventure of our life, it's where we live in the vulnerability that we have discovered, and we allow ourselves to embrace new truths and philosophies based off of the depth that we have seen, the passion that we have seen in ourselves. So we embrace this truth and higher meaning as a priority in how we Venus, how we love, how we allow ourselves to receive love, how we allow resources and ease to flow to us. And you know where they're flowing to us from? Foreign places, Sagittarius, right? It's flowing to us from a different cultural interest that we found out we had. Art, travel, different philosophies maybe are coming in. Now, the one thing I will say, though, is that particularly with Venus in Sagittarius, we have to be mindful of the shadow side of Sagittarius, okay? Especially in your 8th house. You can be a bit reckless. We're like, it's fine. It's all going to work out. You know, it's fine. Don't worry about that. Yeah, worry about that just a little. I mean, like, be easy, but Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, and thank goodness right now it is retrograde, right? So there's a lot of things that may be calling to you and they're enticing. Be mindful with your finances. Be mindful with your romance. You know, I want you to sample from the platter of life in every way, but I just don't want you to go too far, okay? And the other thing I'll say about it as well, Venus is here. You may also be really attractive to other people. So you're pulling foreign people to you and it's exciting. Don't give too much of yourself that your well is empty and you're exhausted. Okay, beautiful Taurus friends. Yeah, don't do that. All right. Okay, as we're going to close out the month Taurus on the 22nd, we are going to see that the sun shifts into Scorpio like it does every year at this time. So now we're going to begin until November 21st, really working on those relationships. Venus has already passed through here. Mercury is already here. And now the sun's bringing light, heat, life, and motivation to burn away what is not needed, but also to amplify and make big and to make beautiful what you really desire in your relationships, what really motivates you in relationships, a sharing, an open, willing sharing of your vulnerability, talking about, you know, things from the root, from the core of your being. You're not just like, oh, I really do like to cook. You're like, no, when I cook, I feel beautiful. I feel like I'm standing in my power. You know, we're really talking from that place of, oh yeah, that one time I was really jealous and it did not serve me well. You know, you're like telling these truths and you're working on it. In the 8th house, in the 7th house of our relationships with Scorpio energy, we are working on where have I lived in a way where there's been too much control. I've needed to be in control of everything. I'll do everything. You know, that Taurus workhorse mentality. 2, I surrender a bit of control and I allow the universe to flow to me. So what an extremely beautiful season we've got going, and an opportunity for you to open up, crack open these relationships, be honest with yourself. If a relationship is dead, that horse is dead and you're over there kicking it, you know, kicking air into it, and you need to let it go. Or is a relationship in a state of dying and it just needs a pivot and some resuscitation? Because sometimes the sun in Scorpio will show us that no, it doesn't need to die. It just needs to die off and be reborn. So you have to be in the evaluation of what this is. Now, the other thing I will say about Scorpio energy is I love it. I love some astrology. Obviously, that's why we gather here. Please don't astrology the people in your most intimate relationships to death. They don't always love that. Maybe you learn about their charts, but maybe you don't have to tell them about it. But if they're excited, they want to know about this brings you together intimately, do it. All right, my beautiful Taurus friends, have a gorgeous month. Please let me know in the comment section down below what's unfolding for you. How have you changed since 2023? Please really share that with me. All right, Taurus, I love you. Have a great month. Hello, my beautiful Gemini friends, and welcome to your horoscope for October of 2024, where Gemini, the big news this month is not only is there a new moon solar eclipse, which is a big deal after all, and it's number 5 in a series of 6 that we've been having since 2023. So the nice part is we already know what we're working with here. Now we're going to just make these shifts and course corrections. But the bigger news about this is that it is happening right as we are coming into the month. So it's like bang on. We get into the month, we're eclipsing. This is a big deal. Now, the thing that I want to also draw your attention to immediately before I jump down these dates is that when we're dealing with an eclipse, okay, we also need to understand what's happening in the spaces of your chart that are ruled by the moon, okay? Because that's also going to put a little bit of impact into what's happening. And then if there are any planets that are also being impacted at the eclipse, we need to see what those planets are also doing in your chart as well. So at this particular eclipse, we know that we have got Mercury and we have got Mars very much so involved in this particular eclipse. So as we're looking it over and we are investigating how is this going to play and how is this going to impact your life and your world moving forward, one of the things that we need to know is that Mars is in the general, it rules the 11th house space. Okay, so this is a space where we know that there could be something going on with friends, social groupings could be happening. There could be something going on in an organization that you are connected to in some way or something happening on social media. Now, in general, I just want to say that this eclipse at this particular time, I do think it's really important to make sure that you have all of your computer devices, all of your social medias, everything just really anti-hacker proof. Like, make sure you have the best security in place that you can, Gemini. I think it's going to become really important at this time, okay? All right, let's jump in and actually talk through these dates so we can see what's going on this month. So first and foremost, we do have the new moon solar eclipse happening at 10 degrees of Libra, and this is happening on the 2nd. So I'm telling you, we come into the month and it's like, surprise. I feel like this new moon just pops out of a cake, at the beginning of the month, like, surprise, it's a new moon, okay? So the thing to know is that we're still planting our seeds of intention here. Okay, we're planting our seeds of intention to begin something new here, and you're also committing to beginning a new cycle. But you're committing a new cycle within a cycle that we've already seen. We have been working the Aries and Libra axes since 2023. Now, if we even go a little bit further and we look at that October solar eclipse that we saw happening in Libra, you can kind of go, what are the conversations that I've seen happening between then and this eclipse that we're having right now in October? What were things that you've started a couple times, especially in your 5th house? So this is really, Gemini, so much about your own self-expression. This is how you're expressing yourself. This is about creativity. This is about what you feel like brings your creativity out. It's also going to be about your relationship with joy, pleasure, and play. Now, other things are creativity in general, that childlike faith, that childlike creativity and play, and the romance that comes with ease and fun and pleasure. These are all things that also live in the 5th house. So here at this particular eclipse, are you ready to make these changes? But you're having to have a lot of conversations about it. You're having to be very Libra. You're having to see all sides of what you already know or what's being presented to you. I wouldn't be surprised for many of you if you're like, yeah, I really do want to be in a relationship, or I want to start some kind of relationship that seems joyful or pleasureful. All I'm going to tell you is that it's an eclipse. Just remember, you are planting your seeds of intention here. Okay, so what you want wants you as well, Gemini, but you might have to you might have to take it step by step by step to be able to get there. It's not one of these things, I think, in this next 6 months, it's just going to happen. This is something that is going to be happening piece by piece by piece. So give yourself the joy and the pleasure to watch yourself unfold. Watch a new version, a new identity of yourself. Watch your relationship with play and joy unfold as you are creating this thing. Now, the 5th house also has very much to do with children. So things changing for your children. Often at an eclipse, what we can see children wanting to do is they're like, they're like, I do it myself. And it's really like a good thing. I laugh when I say that, but it's really such a fresh energy that they're like, I want to differentiate myself from you. I want my own self-image. I want my own, self-conception. So you could see a lot of this happening. Now, some of you will straight up just do children things. We're having babies, we're adopting, things happening with children, okay? Now, when we get to the 9th, we're going to see that Jupiter is going retrograde in your sign. So right here in the 1st house. Now, when Jupiter is direct, it's where we're sharing ourselves, right? You are naturally built. You have a natural gift here in some way, natural wisdom, and we're sharing it out. So over the last handful of months, as Jupiter came into your sign in May, there's been a lot of you, I think, kind of going out, sharing who you are today. Now, as Jupiter is going to step into its retrograde, which it does every year. I just want to say that. It does this every year for 4 months out of the year. So it's not that this is something, new, or there's no spectacle around this happening per se. But as Jupiter is stepping into this retrograde at this time, it's sending you back inside. It's like, okay, we need to go back in and see what actually, first of all, does light you up. What do you enjoy? What does bring you pleasure? Who are you? Who are you today? Are you happy with the growth and the progress that you've made growing and changing as a person? Where are you finding true happiness in what you're doing? Does your life feel lucky, blessed, and fulfilled? Would you describe it that way? And if not, as Jupiter is retrograde, what needs to happen from the perspective of something, reflective, really introspective at a spiritual level? Jupiter has a lot to do with the philosophies that we build our lives on, because the philosophies that I believe are the ones I am building my life on, and they may need to shift if I'm not feeling like I'm fulfilled in my life. So you'll have a 4-month period to be able to experience going back over those questions, checking in with yourself, your life, and your journey. And it's your journey, Gemini, so make sure you do it. Now, we'll see Jupiter coming direct on February 4th of 2025, back at the 11 degrees of Gemini, okay? And I'm sorry, I don't know if I said it, but Jupiter is going retrograde at 21 degrees of Gemini. So you're watching your chart between 21 and 11 degrees of Gemini. Now, when we get later that day, we're also going to see that Pluto is going to come direct at 29 degrees of Capricorn. So we already know that, first of all, since 2008, Pluto has been working over here in the 8th house space for you. Okay, and the 8th house has everything to do with intimacy and assets. It has to do with deep partnerships, has to do with debts. It has to do with karmic debts, deep debtful connections to your parents, your family. Lots of financial things surface in the 8th house. But we also have healing. And we have trauma, healing from trauma. We have the study of astrology. We have anything that we engage with that when we do it, then we are massively transformed afterwards. And at 29 degrees of Capricorn, where we find it today, it's a significant transit because, first of all, it has been bringing our attention to the last vestiges of an old system in our societies, in our communities, that will fall away. But the biggest thing is that I think it triggers really deep transformation for all of us around old stories and structures that used to author us, and those stories don't work anymore. It's not holding up. There's a different power dynamic, and the surfacing over this last year, for sure, and certainly during this retrograde time, the surfacing of anything that's been hidden is definitely risen to the surface for some transformation, but you haven't really been able to do anything with it yet. So now when we're talking about these intimacy, these assets, these shared resources, all of these things, first of all, the 8th house has to do with a deep psychological or emotional change that Pluto was maybe dying off in something that was very intimate or very personal to you. Again, those shared resources, a power dynamic, something like that. And it's showing you what has to die off so that something else can live. So there's empowerment is the point of Pluto on the other side, right? So I would say that now that the retrograde is over and Pluto's on the track to move forward, first of all, out of the vibration of Capricorn and begin to head towards Aquarius, which it's not in any rush to do that. Let's be clear, okay? This is a slow moving energy. So you have time to realize the changes that have in fact happened within you. And you also have an opportunity here to confront three big things, I think. First of all, debt. And this is, let's just be practical. It's financial debt. Do you have financial debt? Are you living with a philosophy or a set of beings or systems in your life that you can't actually keep up with? And now you're paying back the debt, or you have debt and that needs to be detoxed. Pluto here is going to be a great, powerful way to show you that if you can come to the other side of this, this will be really transformational for you. The other thing is going to be at the inner level, on a psychological level, right? Intimacy, sex, your reproductive organs, partnerships, confronting what maybe you've been fearful of here, and death, right? We confront death when we deal with Pluto in the 8th house. We just do. And in life, we have to master death as much as we master life. So the conceptions we have about it, the real reality that we live very close to it every day, these fears can come up. But with Pluto moving direct, now you're in a position to really have more empowerment and conquering of these areas, okay? When we get to the 13th, we see Mercury traveling through the vibration of Scorpio. Now, this is going to light up your 6th house space. Now, first of all, Mercury and Scorpio in general, it's like a transit that really does. It intensifies how we communicate, right? And it's not that it's like, we're spitting fire at people or anything like that. It's that there's a depth. There's a focus. There's this desire to uncover the truth of what's down there, of what do I really love? What am I really passionate about? What is the truth? What really scares me? What am I really motivated about, right? Now, for you, this is going to light up all that intensity in your 6th house space. So health, work, daily routines. I also like to put mental health and wellness, how you talk to yourself on a daily basis, into this house, but also the places we are of service to other people. Now, we're either of service and we have that kind of attitude, or we're of servitude to it and it sucks and we don't really like what we're doing. But as Mercury is traveling here, we get this opportunity where you might actually find yourself, first of all, being more busy in your 6th house area. Right? And this is good. So let's say it's at work or you're a freelancer, you've got more projects coming in, but you're also a lot more critically eyed. You're looking at things more critically. You're more investigative quite naturally, because what you're doing is you're looking for what's the hidden issue. What are the inconsistencies or inefficiencies are here, or what is really making this work? So you're probing with this energy. Now, the other thing I think about, obviously, is it's the 6th house. You could really be thinking or communicating in some very deep way about your health, about your daily routines. But the encouragement here in Scorpio is to transform habits that are not serving you anymore, or transform habits that are pulling you closer to death than is needed. Okay. So this could look like, maybe you've been going down a particular path with your health or your daily routine, and now you're going to find like an alternate health practice, or you're going to find other ways to, different therapies or something like that for help on that psychological level as well. All right, on the 17th, we have got a full moon happening at 24 degrees of Aries, and this is going to light up that 11th house space. So again, we see this repeat kind of information coming from the 11th house about friends, social grouping, social media, organizations you maybe belong to, long-range plans, goals, and designs and aspirations that you have for yourself. Now, earlier in the beginning of the month at that new moon solar eclipse, there could have been some shakeups in the friendship group as well. But certainly here with the full moon, it's asking you to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. It's like, not saying anything's bad or anything's wrong, but we just need to make sure that what you have been working on for quite some time, you celebrate what you've built. right? You celebrate that you built something under this Aries energy, but now it's time to pivot. So where do you need to negotiate a new path? Where do you need to say, this is actually where I want to go? This is the me side. We've done the we side at the beginning. You're committed to having a we, having a genuine partnership. But also, how do you honor your own being, your own voice, your own context? That's really when we stay grounded into that, is how we honor ourselves, I think, in all of our relationships and create interdependence of those two poles of Aries and Libra. Now, the other thing about Aries energy, again, Gemini, it's coming back to how are you honoring your physical body? How are you leading with your body or your leadership skills? Aries is a leadership energy, and it very much so focuses on the body. So you may have conversations like that coming up. Maybe you're going to a new medical group or something like that, or you're part of a walking club. Do you guys remember Jazzercise? Jazzercise was so cool. All right, on the same day, we're going to see Venus move into Sagittarius, so right across the street from you in that relationship house. Now, when Venus is traveling through the vibration of Sagittarius, we want to attract things to us that are different. They're foreign, they're outside of what maybe we know, but they hold a different set of truths that we can experience. And so for you, one of the things I think is cool is that this is actually going to light up that 7th house space, which means that you may even be attracting to you, if I can say that. You can tell I'm recording during a retrograde. You may be attracting something to you that is coming out of a foreign space, but in your relationships, you're like, wow, this is really different. Like, I feel really hopeful about this relationship that's coming in, or wow, this has given me freedom. I'm literally attracting freedom to me. I'm attracting something of value to me, and it's coming from someplace I never really thought it would come from. You know, you make room for the universe to surprise and delight you, is what I can say to you, because relationships at this time take on that more adventurous, expansive, optimistic kind of quality. Maybe you're even connecting with people who have different philosophies than you, or you're drawing people to you who are just really well-traveled. And sometimes well-traveled doesn't mean they've been on a plane. It means they're experiencing something that you're experiencing, but they have this whole breadth of knowledge on how to have a solution to that. So really cool experience. You'll have to let me know how your Venus transit goes, okay? Now, as we're going to close out the month on the 22nd, we're going to see the sun now pop into that Scorpio vibration. So I'm telling you, you are probing in the 6th house, the daily routine, health, wellness, mental health and wellness, projects, if you're a freelance person, if you own a business, your employees, if you are an employee, your coworkers, it's all getting very probed right now, and there's a fair amount of intensity. And intense does not mean bad. Intense does not mean scary. Intense means that we're going to get efficient. We're going to find out where the cracks in the cement are at. We're filling them in so that this thing can be steady and sturdy, because make no doubt, Scorpio is a fixed energy, so it wants to be emotionally solid and grounded so that it can ebb and flow as it absolutely needs to. All right, my absolutely beautiful Gemini friends, I hope that you have a gorgeous month. Please make sure that you take care of yourself, take care of your health. If things come up for you, go ahead and ask questions, address them, tackle them, especially in the realm of health, okay? All right, Gemini, I'll see you next month. Hello, my absolutely beautiful Cancerian friends, and welcome to your horoscope for October of 2024, where Cancer, the big ticket money item this month is that we have another eclipse. And not only do we have another eclipse, but it is happening as soon as we start this month on the 2nd. So coming in, we're going to be starting with eclipsing. And this is also a big deal, not just because it's an eclipse, so it's a resetting kind of energy, but being a solar eclipse and any kind of lunation that is happening really is impactful to you because you're ruled by the moon. So personally, this can have a lot of unfolding and more impactful effects. Of course, it will also depend on your personal chart, but in general, you're likely going to feel this one. Now, the interesting part, I think, at this particular lunation is going to be understanding that not only is this, eclipse number 5 in a series of 6 of them that we've already experienced, but also that this is not new. You're not beginning something that's like brand new. You're making the next leg of the journey to give the next set of things its new beginning. And this you'll work on for the next 2.5 years. So that's some pretty exciting information, okay? All right, Cancer, let's jump in here and talk about exactly what's going on this month. Now, like I said at the beginning of this video, we are going to see that we've got this new moon solar eclipse happening at 10 degrees of Libra, and this is going to light up your 4th house space. So home, family, real estate, property, any of the things in the domestic zones, things having to do with your parents or family members in general. I want to say that this is a place where you might be making some fresh starts. So first of all, are you starting something different in your home? Libra is ruled by Venus. Are you wanting to beautify something? You're taking on a home repair or something like that. The eclipse lets you know that something has been there that you maybe haven't seen before. Is somebody pregnant? Is someone getting accepted to college? So they'll be moving out of your house. Whatever it is in this particular home and family arena, it's definitely going to receive a shakeup. But what I can tell you is that it's a great place to, again, do a check-in and see if anything has been underlying or it's been hidden. This is the time to initiate a new chapter in that living situation and in that home situation. So if there are emotional conflicts within the family that present themselves, first of all, you're doing it under a Libra vibration. So handling them is going to be pretty diplomatic, which I think is nothing but in your favor. Something else that I just want to take a bit of note of is that because this is a new moon solar eclipse, so there is an emphasis that's also happening with the sun and the moon coming together here, is that the sun is actually the ruler of your 2nd house in the general, okay? Because that's the house of Leo. So because this is an eclipsing, I would also be paying attention to if there are any changes coming to a financial zone, more so for me, in the dynamic of how you go out and you earn money in some way. And I'll tell you that that is also really closely connected to the full moon that we're going to have that's in your 10th house when we get to the 17th. So I'll talk more about that in just a minute. But when we get to the 9th, we've got Jupiter going retrograde at 21 degrees of Gemini. And this lights up your 12th house space because Gemini is the sign that is right behind you. So as we're seeing Jupiter in this retrograde, first of all, Jupiter is the energy in your 12th house that is sending you back inward, right? It's time you're doing you're re-looking at your spiritual life. You're having these reflections about the philosophical ideas, the beliefs, your level of faith, knowledge that you have, truths that you have that govern the way that you deal with your life, how you're developing. Are you developing in some path? Where are you growing? What do you believe will bring you happiness and success? So as Jupiter is retrograding here in the 12th house, you're being asked a question pretty specifically about spirituality. What do you believe behind the scenes? Also, are there things from the past or behind the scenes that are not, they're in the rear view mirror. They're not actually going to bring you real joy, real fulfillment, because let's remember that Jupiter it wants to expand out. It wants to take you further, but it wants to take you further into the future in Gemini energy. Gemini is going forward. It's gathering all the details for the future. So if you've got things in your 12th house, your own undoing, past behaviors, past beliefs that are no longer serving you to get where you want to go, this Jupiter retrograde time is going to serve as a means for you to, have a look at that. So it'll be a really interesting time. And Jupiter, this is not like anything extravagant. Jupiter goes retrograde every year for about 4 months. So we'll see Jupiter come out of its retrograde February 4th of 2025. Now, on the same day, we've got Pluto coming direct. Now, we've been dealing with Pluto energy first and foremost since 2008, but we've been dealing with this 29 degrees of Capricorn business, for a while here as well. So as we see Pluto come direct here now, it is going to be lighting up your 7th house space because it's over there in the Capricorn vibration. And 29 degrees of Capricorn is a significant transit because it triggers such deep knowledge of power dynamics that we've had in our life. It's a deep place of transformation in your seventh house. This is really profound changes in your relationships, conscious, chosen one-on-one relationships. So that's not just marriages, but it could be your marriage. It's a business partnership. It's you. It's you with whatever you call God or a higher power. Because if there have been hidden issues, things that need to come up and they need to die off, and typically they're painful. Right? Because the only way for us to be empowered and really transformed for them is that we have to go through a little something to get to the other side. So as things have been being presented, now as Pluto comes direct in this partnership area, where there have been power struggles or the transformation you've been seeing in your close personal relationships, where that's been happening, you're in this space now. You can live out of the transformation that has been provided, right? The underlying issues have already been to the surface. Hopefully, many of them have been in the state of transformation. And transformation is not a 6-week process all the time, unless you are like, a bodybuilder or something, right? So whatever it is, hopefully it's been addressed and we'll see that energy playing out for you. Now, when we get to the 13th, we have got Mercury moving into the vibration of Scorpio, and this is lighting up your 5th house space. So this is a transit that, first of all, it intensifies conversation. It intensifies your mind. It intensifies all kinds of communication, because what's happening here is Mercury is brought into a place of depth. And so it gets really focused, right? It gets that scorpionic focus, because now we want to uncover the truth. We want to get to the root of what's going on. We want to really see the depth in a particular situation. Now, in your 5th house, this lights up all things having to do with creativity, how you express yourself, romance, children. So some of the things that we can watch for this particular transit is, first of all, your creative expression may be more intense. I want to use the word intense because I don't want to say dark necessarily, but Scorpio is ruled by Pluto. So you may really be having some expression now that is more intense. It could be dark because you're feeling compelled to talk really about some things that are not shallow. They are what has been living, moving, and being, beneath the surface. Maybe you're even talking about things that are considered, in quotes, a little bit more taboo. Are you talking more about astrology? Are you talking about sex, sexual healing, talking about your past, being vulnerable, right? Now, when it comes to romance, I think that the conversations can end up being a little bit more passionate, actually. You're exploring those deeper, intimate, and psychological connections that come of the mind. So, and not to leave out the children, because your children, what they can be experiencing under this transit that you kind of are the recipient of, is that they are learning the scorpionic things. What are they really passionate about? What really motivates them to do what they're doing? And certainly learning to express the realm of the emotional world. So there's plenty of changes we can watch as this transit is gracing us. Now, when we get to the 17th, we've got the full moon happening at 24 degrees of Aries. So the full moon asks us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. And truly for you, it's in the 10th house, okay? So this is in the 10th house of career, of your reputation in public, the name that we call you in public. So think about it this way too. Even if you are, let's say, retired, what is the title that we call you in public? Do we call you grandmother? Do we call you CEO? Do we call you sergeant? What do we call you in public? Okay, because there can be changes that are really happening here. And I think it's a little bit, it's the changing of the guard in some way. Now, being in an Aries energy, which makes me come to leadership, that's exactly what I think, is that there is a change of leadership in your place of work or in the place of your reputation in some way, so literally Aries being the sign of the body as well. You literally have new bodies that are going to be coming into your space. Old bodies are leaving. So I would be looking at it from that direction. Now, of course, the full moon is the full moon, and it is a full moon in a Martian ruled sign, and Mars likes to make things change direction. So is it possible that you're really, you're going to take on your next career, or you're going to take on your next title, or move things in a completely different direction. Yeah, I think that's absolutely possible. I don't have any reason to think that it wouldn't be, but I think this one is a little bit more about what's already there. The pieces are just kind of being moved around a little bit. So you'll have to let me know about that in the comment section. Okay, when we are also in the 17th, we're going to see that Venus moves into Sagittarius. And I really like this transit because I think often Venus being this attracting sign, so pulling things to you, it's more about adventure, it's more about optimism and, going a little bit outside of your comfort zone, and Venus being on that quest for love and beauty and harmony. But I think there's a lot more depth that can come with this as well, because Venus in Sagittarius is driven to attract a love that seeks those higher truths, that seeks a different philosophical understanding than the one that you had the last time Venus was here. It's not content with shallow connections. It does want something that's more intellectually stimulating, something that is spiritually fulfilling, that aligns the relationship or aligns the finances or aligns your values with something that has a greater purpose. So there's a lot of enthusiasm and idealism that comes with this transit, and it comes through the adventure of exploration. Right? You're going on a money journey. Let's say, that's how it really is coming out for you. It's really happening in your 6th house, right? So in your day-to-day routine, you're enjoying the adventure, the journey of connecting with a new daily routine. You're going on the adventure of, or the journey of exploring new health benefits, new health practitioners, expanding your horizons, learning new information that might allow you to not only be free from past ideas, but also would connect you to some form of generosity, like a generosity of spirit. You're open-hearted. You're willing to not just give when Venus is in Sagittarius, but you're willing to receive in different ways than you've maybe ever practiced before. So I think Venus here is really a neat adventure for you to go on. Now, please remember that even though Venus is trying to transcend all of the ordinary and expand with all this joyful meaning and all of that, it is important to remember to honor whatever relationships that you're actually in, to honor what is coming to you, because as it's coming to you, it's coming to you in the way that you can currently receive it and understand it. And that's a part of the journey and the exploration here as well, okay? So I wouldn't be surprised for some of you if you're like a freelancer or you've been looking for work or something like that in the 6th house, and you literally start to attract offers to you from places that seem foreign, where you're like, what? Now listen, if somebody's saying they're going to fly you out so that you can be a princess in some land that you've absolutely never heard of, I don't think that job is for you, but what do I know? Okay, when we get to the 22nd, now we're going to see the sun move into that vibration of Scorpio to take us out of the month, again, lighting up this 5th house space. So plenty of changes going in the 5th house realm. Your children could have some different things going on. They are like self-actualizing, expressing themselves in different ways, really separating their identity from yours. But this is a wonderful transit for romance to be coming in, for romance to be coming back into your life. If you and your, maybe you and your partner fell flat just a little bit. Great transit for, did you want to take that thing from being a hobby and actually begin your own business or something like that? In the 5th house, we're taking a lot of action to begin something so that we can say that this is actually mine and this is a true expression of who I am. All right, my absolutely beautiful Cancers, have a gorgeous month. Please let me know what's happening for you around work. What is the shift and the change that's coming for you around work? Because I'm always interested in seeing where this takes you. Cancers and work are just like a fascinating thing for me. So let me know in the comment section down below. I love you a ton, and I'll see you next month. My absolutely beautiful Leo friends, and welcome to your horoscope for October of 2024, where Leo, this month, the hot ticket item is that we have got a solar eclipse happening in Libra. And this really is like a big deal because we've been working on this for a while. So the thing I like about this eclipse more than any of the other eclipses that we have experienced, and why I think it's a big deal, is because here you can actually see what kind of progress you've made. You know, we have spent the last year working between your third house and your ninth house spaces. So how do you communicate? Things going on with your siblings, discussions that need to be had, focusing on higher beliefs, travel, you know, long range held beliefs, you know, and so your real expansion has hinged on looking at these relational dynamics. And this eclipse is not going to be any different. Lighting up your third house space, it's all about the intellectual things. How do you communicate? How do you receive information? How do you deliver it? And when we're talking about the third house, for context right out of the gate, I want to say, in the third house, we're think college level and below. Okay, when we go to the ninth house is when we go to college and above. So for some of you, maybe there's a class you're teaching, something you were studying, something like that, something that was a huge piece of your communication and learning, and there's like a little drama happening over there, or it's like there are just changes that need to be happening because you're seeing that you've got to like adjust the plan. Right? You need a new strategy around that. The other thing, Leo, that I think is important for you to know is that in the third house, there becomes a really strong component between the mind and the body, what you're thinking about and how that's translating into your day-to-day health, wellness, and routine and these kinds of things. So we'll talk all about that in just a minute. Leo, listen. If you want to learn to do astrology for yourself, I would really, really encourage you to, first of all, make sure, even if you're listening to me or anybody else, that you have your own natal chart so that you can go through this process of listening to what's happening in the general, but having this nice evaluation of how this actually stacks up against your own chart, okay? All right, Leo, let's jump in and talk about the dates for this month. So first of all, at the beginning of the month on the 2nd, we've got the new moon solar eclipse happening at 10 degrees of Leo, lighting up your third house space. So this tells us that this is a time that we're going to address communication patterns, especially with those close to you, whether that be a sibling or a neighbor or a contract that you're invested in. Because what can happen here is that in some way you're seeing where it's just been off track. A strategy about something you want to communicate or you're learning has been off track. And this becomes an opportunity to just get that back on course. Now, this particular eclipse as well is conjunct Mercury, so that gives us the extra emphasis of we're definitely going to communicate. In fact, it heightens the discussion around all things fair. Is this fair? Is this relationship balanced? But it's also square to Mars. And Mars can really be a challenge to that Libra vibration, right? Libra wants peace and you want ease in your communication style, but you're maybe having to be a bit more assertive, or someone's coming at you in a way that's a bit aggressive. So it can kind of harsh the mellow. There can feel like there's misunderstandings or some heat to the discussion. So think about it this way. You're planting your seeds of intention for over the next 6 months to take this as an opportunity to refine how you express your ideas, how you listen to others, the contracts that you have entered into, and the language that is around it. Remember, your words mean things, whether you speak them out loud or you're living with them within your own body. When we get to the 9th, we see Jupiter taking a retrograde at 21 degrees of Gemini. Now, this is going to light up your 11th house space where Jupiter has been working for quite some time. And as Jupiter is going retrograde, what we're asked to go back to, or what we're asked to relook at, is first of all to come inward. It is an inward reflective kind of time. There's a lot of introspection, philosophical introspection that comes here. So having to deal with your growth and your development in social groups, with your friends, friendship groupings, groups that you're a part of, organizations that you are connected to, social things, social media. But I also say your long-range plans, goals, and designs. As Jupiter is here expanding what it touches, what is your real idea about what happiness, growth, development, and success look like to you? But with Jupiter, the only way we can really answer that question is to go to our philosophies that we live by, that we're building our lives on those philosophies, belief systems, religions, whatever it is, and also to our own moral compass. You have to go within and take a look at that and see, where do you have growth? What even defines growth for you? Because you might be out here being whole, successful, Leo, but if you're off your mark, or you don't even know what the mark is, how can you know you're successful or not? Now, I love the retrograde time, because one of the things that my teacher always talked about is that when Jupiter goes retrograde, though it's subtle for some people, for others, they get knocked out of their complacency. They get knocked out of their own ignorance. And I think that that is a brilliant thing, because we don't know what we don't know until we know it, right? And as it's illuminated, we get to see that. Now, the other thing that I think it's going to be really great for is in your social groups, in your social circle, if it's gotten big. Jupiter came into this 11th house, made that thing nice and big. Maybe even you expanded out, but not everybody is for you, and you are not for everybody. So some of these folks got to get cut out, and you'll understand, I think, at a deep soul level, that you will pull in more closely to the people who you're supposed to be on this part of the path with, and you'll surrender those that cannot travel this length of the journey with you, not because they're good, bad, or indifferent, but because they're not a part of the soul plan, and you need to be growing and developing, even if it's in your own healing, maybe it's in your own wealth, whatever it is, and not everybody's ready to do that. On the same day, we're going to see Pluto come direct at 11 degrees of Capricorn. Now, the thing I like about this is that Pluto has been, first of all, working in Capricorn, working in your 6th house space of daily routines, health, and wellness since 2008. So this is really genuinely not a new vibration. It's not new information. But instead, what we have here is a really big review of what has been, I believe. Now, Pluto in general is about where we have these deep transformations. There's nothing subtle about a Pluto transformation. It's not like some little small thing that happens over here and nobody notices. That's not the Pluto way. But it is quiet. It is quiet. It is deep. And we look at the power dynamics, power struggles, power dynamics we've had in our lives, and surfacing things that have been hidden begin surfacing, because they're issues that need to come to the surface because they need a transformation, right? Now, at 29 degrees of Capricorn, this is a significant energy. This one is doing the rest of that deep gardening work, because we're just about done with this. So for you, lighting up things in the 6th house space, what you've been working on are, again, that health, that mental health and wellness, the daily routine that you live by, the work that you do, okay? So Pluto has been working here to say you may need to reevaluate some daily habits that you have, or maybe your work environment, or your approach to your health. And sometimes a new approach to health just comes because we've gotten older, we've gotten different, we've gotten whatever, but it requires a real big transformation, and it's typically a little bit more challenging for us to get to it. Any issues related to power dynamics at work or in your daily routine, and anything that is really deeply living in that health space has come up. Now, Pluto is direct. I think you've had an opportunity to look at it, or at least get in the zip code of looking at it. And now you can apply some solution as Pluto is going to move forward. On the 13th, we've got Mercury moving into the vibration of Scorpio, which is going to light up your 4th house space. Now, as we're experiencing this Mercury and Scorpio transit, first of all, it intensifies the mind and communication. So there's this depth, there's this focus that gets in there, because Mercury just wants the information, and Scorpio's like, yeah, but I want to uncover these hidden truths, right? So it becomes a little bit of that vibration. Now, in your 4th house space, what could this look like? First of all, the 4th house is going to get busy. Mercury's there bringing information. It's a busy kind of energy. But home, family, real estate, property, things going on with your family, your parents, right? These are all going to be up for conversation. And so the way that this can manifest is that communication within the family can become a little bit more intense, or you're talking about something in the family or in your home that has been hidden, or there's been a dynamic that's been hidden for a while. Now, I like it to the other side as well. Some people in the 4th house really get this calling and this deep need. It's not an intellectual thing at all. It is a need that rises, I think, from someplace deeper to really explore their roots or their lineage in some way. And some of that rooting can look very scorpionic, like I'm just looking at my own psychological patterns that stem from my upbringing, or stem from where I've come from, and I have some questions about that now. And it's a wonderful transit for deep conversations that can lead to some really good healing, some transformation, especially emotionally. But you have to also be mindful that the other party has to be ready to engage that as well, okay? Now, when we get to the 17th, we've got a full moon happening at 24 degrees of Aries, and this is going to be to the other side of your communication space. So we're lighting up the 9th house, publishing, marketing, broadcasting, all things about belief, religion, faith, philosophy, higher education, travel, legal. They all fall into this 9th house space. So as we're experiencing this full moon happening here, the full moon asks us to end something, to acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. We have to pivot at something that has come up for us. Now, this particular full moon, again, remember we've been looking at this Aries Libra axis for quite some time. Okay, so at this particular full moon, it's highlighting the me. It's highlighting the you. Where do you need to pivot and look at how are you actually representing yourself in what you're doing? Because we can't have a we if I don't hold my part as well. Right? So where do you need to take some action? And the full moon brings the revelation. It brings the revelation, especially emotionally, about things that are happening for us. Aries in the physical body, in how I'm leading or initiating things in my life or in my partnerships. How am I doing with that? That leads to me being so well and so fulfilled and honoring myself that I can participate in a we. Now, the other thing I want to point out is because Aries is in the body, this is a really interesting dynamic about where are your philosophies and your ideas about your relationship with your own body, Leo, right? Where are you connected to your own body being in a way that allows you to live, move, have your being, and eat and exercise in ways that are joyful and honor the space that you live in? These are some questions I think that will be up for you, but some of the rest of you too. You could be entering into legal battles. Absolutely. The full moon in Aries could have it at the surface and you are ready to do battle. So you have to keep me posted in the chat. I almost said in the chat. in the comment section down below what is happening for you. And for the rest of you who are traveling, let us know that as well. On the same day, we're going to see Venus move into the vibration of Sagittarius. Venus in Sagittarius. First of all, I want to say that yes, Venus in Sagittarius at a base level is going to embody this quest of all Venusian things, love, beauty, harmony, right? All of these things. And Venus is an attracting in energy. So you're pulling, pulling, pulling. So yes, absolutely. Can it bring you love from a foreign land? Yes, it can. Can it bring you love of a foreign land? Yes. Money from foreign resources? Yes, absolutely. This is happening in your 5th house space. So this is joy, pleasure, play. I'm willing to take a risk. I'm going on the adventure of things. But bigger than that, Venus in Sagittarius is driven, fire, by a love that seeks higher truths, that has a bigger philosophical understanding. Because remember, the philosophies are what we're building these areas of our lives off of. So in your 5th house of joy, pleasure, play, children, taking a risk, romance, self-expression, what are your philosophies that you understand here? Because you're building your life on them, and this transit is not going to be content at all with any kind of superficial relationship to this area in your chart, because Venus in Sagittarius wants this area to attract such goodness to it that it's fulfilling and aligns with something that is a greater truth and a greater purpose. So what I love about Venus in Sagittarius is that the love and the beauty and the wealth that are attracted to this area of your life are about exploration. They're about adventure. Your relationship to this area of your chart is the journey, with the connection offering very Jupiterian things. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. So you get to expand your horizons by learning something, attracting something profound to you in this area of your chart that allows you to open up to this. It's almost a visionary kind of beauty, really, okay? So you have to let me know what you're expanding in this fifth house area. What are your children expanding? Because they're finding, their own growth. They're finding their own intellectual discussions and spiritual explorations are just, helping them identify who they are, separate, themselves from the parents. Lots of good energy with Venus there. Now, as we're going to close out the month on the 22nd, we see the sun move into the vibration of Scorpio. So as the sun is traveling through the Scorpio vibration, first of all, we see that, we got to have this whole experience already with Mercury being here, busying, readying the area. And now as the sun is here, you're ready to put solution in place. You're really motivated to participate in the fourth house, home, family, real estate, property. So if you're renovating the house, this could be a thing. If you are having deep conversations with your family members, if there's a family member moving in, someone's moving out, relationships are dying or dying off how they used to be and are being reborn in a different way that honors the space of the sun, that is motivated to have things live. So let me know how that is playing out for you, Leos. And really, I hope you have a gorgeous October. I cannot wait to see what happens when I catch up with you in November. Hello, my absolutely beautiful Virgo friends, and welcome to your horoscope for October of 2024. Well, Virgo, the hot ticket item this month is that we have got the new moon solar eclipse happening not only this month, but it's also happening at the beginning of this month, right as we get in the gate. So we're coming in ready to change. And it's really actually a cool change, I think we're going to see, Virgo, because this is an eclipse axis that we have been working with for the last year in Aries and Libra. So the changes that are happening here, it's not that it's so much something brand new that you're planting seeds of intention of. It's that you're starting something new in a story that's already been ongoing. So it's getting a fresh start to something you've been trying to grow in the first place. And for you, this eclipse is going to happen in your second house. So we can expect that there are going to be changes financially. There are going to be changes to the things that you really value or what your values are. And also changes to some of your possessions. I think some of you may be like, okay, I don't need that anymore. We can get rid of it, which that's cool because it's all about in the Libra dynamic. It's really about creating powerful balances between the me and the we, the what I need and the partnerships that I have in my life. And that's with people, places, things. And in your case, it's with the money that you keep and the money that you let go of. So we'll talk more about that as we get through the month, okay? All right, right at the beginning of the month, Virgo, we have got that on the 2nd, the new moon solar eclipse, and it's at 10 degrees of Libra. So please make sure that you have your own natal chart. That's going to be really important so that you can also see where this is happening for you in your personal domain. Listening to the general is fantastic, but I want you to have the accurate information for your own chart, okay? So first of all, like I said, in the second house, we're looking at changes financial. So whether that is just something for you, or we need to remember too that when we're looking at any lunar event, sometimes these are changes that are happening within the family, and they are a financial change that will also have an impact on you. But for the most part, we can look at items of financial matters, self-esteem. There may be this need for you at this time to kind of reassess what resources you have and how you valued yourself to bring those resources into your life. Is it going to be time for you to have a look around and say, oh, I value myself a bit differently now. I need to change my prices, raise my prices, let go of these possessions that are not in alignment with my self-worth anymore, right? Now, what I will say is be mindful of going out to just impulsively spend. Okay, we've got this lunation in a square to Mars, and Mars can increase the impulsivity a little bit, or there's an impatience or an aggression that comes with it. So instead of manifesting all kinds of frustration in your relationships and with your money around that, just avoid that conflict by being a little bit more mindful. Now, when we get to the 9th, we're going to see Jupiter going retrograde at 21 degrees of Gemini. And Jupiter has been over here lighting up your 10th house space. So as Jupiter has been moving through your career domain, it's not just your career, but it's also your reputation. What do we call you in public? Who are you? What are the names that you carry? So this is a pretty profound, I think, energy for you to be looking at and working with, because as Jupiter is traveling over here, what you have is an opportunity to, first of all, in the retrograde, look at where you have expanded. Right? What has come to your attention? What opportunities have been presented to you? And now you're going, oh, okay, I don't think that I want to keep that anymore. That's not actually in alignment. When I check in on my insides, that's not in alignment with what's relevant for me to be putting my energy towards. Because what you put your energy towards, what you focus on, Jupiter's going to grow that, right? So the networks, Gemini, that you put your energy towards, it's going to grow that. So I think that this is an awesome opportunity during the retrograde to, first of all, go within. It's an introspective, sometimes retrospective, obviously, kind of evaluation about what's in alignment with what will really make you happy, really bring you success, really bring you joy. Because if you do those things, then you can share it with enthusiasm and self-confidence with other people, and thus expand this career area, thus expand your reach, thus expand your wisdom. On the same day, we are going to see that Pluto is coming out of retrograde at the 29 degree of Capricorn mark. And so, all right, now Pluto's been working over here in Capricorn for quite some time, since 2008. So all things in your life and your world having to do with joy, pleasure, play, children, these have all been the hot topic in the world of Virgo. And how do we look at this and regard this topic? Well, Pluto at 29 degrees of Capricorn is a significant transit because it's an anaretic degree. So it's telling us there's this concentrated, this is really, really concentrated. And what it's been doing as it's been working here is triggering all sorts of really big transformations, from power dynamics that you've had, things surfacing that have been hidden and now they are needing to come to your attention. And the overall point of it is for you to come to the other side, to address the pain, root out the poison that's in the system, and let it go. Now, for you, it's been about children, romance, creativity, self-expression, joy, pleasure, play, your creative projects, right? So any issues that have been related to that have come up have been the subject of profound transformation. So as Pluto comes direct, you've had a chance to be looking at these things have come to the surface. There's maybe even been conversations about loss or about grief, about things like that. And now this transit coming direct gives you an opportunity to integrate the new dynamics and the new understandings into your creative expression and into your life. Certainly your children will be having their own awakenings along this transformation, right? Because sometimes what happens is you're going along raising your children and they have an unexpressed desire that you don't know about until it's expressed, or there's an unexpressed or hidden dynamic that we don't know about until it's expressed. But you've had chance with Pluto retrograde to review it, and now you can start living in a different dynamic that's the best for all. When we get to the 13th, we've got Mercury moving through the vibration of Scorpio. And as Mercury travels through Scorpio, this is a transit that, first of all, it's scorpionic. It does intensify things. And what does it intensify? It intensifies the mind. It intensifies communication. Because here, Mercury wants the information. Mercury's like, just tell me what it is. I'm trying to get this information. And Scorpio wants to go deep. So it gets deep, it gets focused. We're going to uncover these hidden truths, right? So as Mercury is traveling through Scorpio here, it's traveling through your third house of communications. So communications, learning, your learning style, including how you teach. Siblings will be a huge piece of the story, I think, and the way that you engage your network on a daily basis. And for those of you that are writing books or updating your websites, this is a great transit for you as well. So the ways we can see this working out for you and maybe what it's calling into your life is, first of all, remember Mercury is busy. Mercury's a busybody. So you'll definitely have a busier third house. You're getting more information. There's more conversations that are coming up around you and your siblings, things happening with your siblings, things about your neighbors, your neighborhood. For some of you, you may feel really drawn to study something that involves a lot more research, or it's a more complex subject. Okay. It's a beginner level, think college level and below. but it's complex. Can you just come and study astrology is what I think I'm saying. And others of you may just find yourself willing to have conversations or to delve into these topics that have seemed more taboo or more vulnerable. And now you're ready to bring that up. I love this in the third house for you because Virgo, what it means is you're having the conversations, the kind that change lives. On the 17th, we've got a full moon happening at 24 degrees of Aries, and this is going to light up your 8th house space. Now, the full moon is asking us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. So we've got a pivot. That's what we're having happen for us right here is we're pivoting. Now, the pivot is going to be in the 8th house space. What's happening for your spouse or your partner or any resource that you are connected to that is a sharing of resource in some way. Now, the other thing at the full moon I think is profound is to detox. Detox, detox, detox. Detox your body, detox your budget, detox anything that is carrying a debt and keeping you too heavy. And some of the ways that we do that in the 8th house is we go to therapy, we study astrology, we allow our pain to be transformed and transmuted into something else that goes from being a liability to being an asset in our lives, okay? And here's something else to keep in mind. Because this is a full moon in Aries, and Aries governs so much of the body and the head in particular, that if you're finding yourself having this pivot at this full moon or things are becoming available to you, you're like seeing it from a different perspective, it's okay. Just make sure if you're going into some kind of detox or transformation, just don't go by yourself. Take a guide with you, okay? All right, on the same day, we're going to see that Venus gets into the vibration of Sagittarius in your 4th house, home, family, real estate, property. So now this area of the chart is magnetized. So you're drawing to you in this particular area. You're not going out to hustle for it. You're calling it in to you. Now, Venus in Sagittarius is a transit that, yes, it's of course love, beauty, harmony, all of these beautiful Venusian words that we're going to use to pull to us. But Venus in Sagittarius seeks something really expansive and adventurous, but it's deeply, deeply meaningful. Because what Venus in Sagittarius is actually driven by is a love that seeks higher truths and a deeper philosophical understanding of those truths. So it's like this relationship, this connection, this resource that I'm pulling to me, it has to align with a greater purpose. It has to mean something. And the biggest thing it needs to mean is that I get some sort of freedom on the other side of this connection. So what is it in your home space, Virgo, that's going to be coming up? You'll have to let me know in the chat. Are you taking on a building project, you're moving, you're doing some kind of expansion? Because whatever it is, what you're taking on in your 4th house during this transit is seen as the journey. And that's very exciting to Venus and Sagittarius because it's calling resources to you that allow you to participate in the journey of expanding yourself through relationships, through information and resources that are coming to you. Now, as we're going to close out the month, Virgo, on the 22nd, we have got the sun now moving into that vibration of Scorpio. Okay, so the 3rd house is lit up. There's a lot of conversation happening. Mercury has readied the way. So all of the movement, all the little ants have been going. Your technology, your emails have probably been coming in full blast. But as the sun is here now, any of the deep conversations, any of the busyness that has come up that actually needs to be dealt with, actually can be built upon. This is where the sun really gets its joy here. It's like, okay, I can help here. I'm motivated to do this. I'm motivated to get to the truth. I'm motivated to share my vulnerability. I'm motivated to take this on. And I want to be clear is that, while we're sitting here talking about how this area can get really good for you, it's still scorpionic. What you might be taking on is something a little bit more heavy or something that you didn't necessarily choose. And how much of your karma is attached to it, where you're like, yeah, I don't really want to take on my siblings' children because they don't have their life together. But there you are, right? So there's going to be some of these things to be looking at. How do you deal with them? I don't really want to deal with debt. I don't really want to deal with addiction. I don't really want to deal with trauma. I really don't want to take that astronomy for astrologers class because the math is hard, like whatever it is, the sun is ready to get in here, to do the vulnerable work, to get into the details, and to also do it in a way that passionately connects to something that really lights you up. And most likely, again, it's your freedom and your transformation and your mastery of this particular area, your mastery of communication, okay? All right, my beautiful Virgo friends, please let me know how the month is unfolding for you in the comment section down below. What's happening for you? Just share it with me in that comment section, and I look forward to seeing you in November. Hello, my absolutely beautiful Libra friends, and welcome to your horoscope for October of 2024, where let's just say it, happy birthday, Libra. What a beautiful season. What a beautiful time to be bringing your birthday. Now, I do realize that we're not going to be moving there until we get to the end of the month, but still, what a beautiful time. Happy birthday to you. I hope that you have taken some time in this last few months to bring your year to a close, to look at everything that you've learned last year as you're getting ready for birthday time and birthday season, traveling this year, especially because we are starting out the month with an eclipse in your sign, which is an instant opportunity, or sometimes not even an opportunity, but a forcing of you to take stock of you and who you are and what your personal path to happiness is, how you're presenting yourself, because how you're presenting yourself is also going to decide some of the opportunities that are available. So this is a really neat time, and I do hope that you had time to rest, to assimilate, to integrate everything you've learned from this last year, so that as you do move forward into birthday time, you can do it with a little gusto, a little vigor, knowing that you have done good spiritual work. The spiritual changes are also, nice, deeply embedded in you, and you can use those to bring you forward. All right, Libra, let's get in here and talk about it, especially since the eclipse in your sign is the first thing that's happening as we get into this month, right on the 2nd. So on the 2nd, we've got that new moon solar eclipse happening at 10 degrees of Libra. And really the eclipses over this last year have been working in your zone and your relationship zone. This has been the heavy focus. So the fact that we're having an eclipse here and it's again in your sign, it's not a shock. That's the thing I want to say. This is not shocking. You've been being refined. You've been being sharpened. As that south node was working to pull out any codependency or any imbalance in you that was creating imbalance in your relationships, this has also been a time where now, as the eclipse is here, and we get to look at you, you get to go, okay, well, what's left over from what I've been learning since 2023? How do I want to upgrade myself? How do I want to define myself? How do I want to, dress myself, take myself out into the world? What are the considerations I have for what actually makes me successful and happy and useful in the world, and also in my relationships? Now, I do think that it's important to note that at this particular eclipse, there's also going to be a really tight conversation happening with Mars. And in the general, Mars acts as not only a financial planet, because Mars is one of the rulers of Scorpio, which is the sign just next to you, but also your relationships, the 7th house, the Aries portion of the general. So saying that, I just say that so that you understand that as you're going to be making these changes over the next 6 months, and you're literally eclipsed, right? You are blotted out and reset, that your relationships are going to need a revision. But you're planting your seeds of intention to begin them in a different direction. And it doesn't mean that every relationship needs to end. You need to break up. You need to get divorced. But it does mean that you're going to be coming to the table differently. You're coming to the table hopefully more balanced within yourself, so that whatever relationships, whether they be business, romance, legal things, you are coming to the table more balanced and able to give from a fuller cup. But I would not be surprised at all if the relationships don't have a little bit going on in them as we're traveling here in October. Now, on the 9th, we're going to see that Jupiter is going to go retrograde at 21 degrees of Gemini, and this lights up your 9th house space. So we're going to see that this retrograde is going to go from 21 degrees of Gemini, moving all the way back to 11 degrees of Gemini. So you definitely want to identify that in your own personal chart. But going back into your life to July 15th, when we saw Jupiter get to 11 degrees of Gemini, what started coming up for you? What was coming up in terms of things expanding in your life? They were getting bigger. You had growth opportunities. Maybe you were publishing, marketing, broadcasting. Did something come up with travel, immigration, higher education? What was it in your expansion zone, because now it's almost like, oh, that's really great. Maybe the networks were expanding, maybe the studies were expanding. And as Jupiter retrogrades, it's time to kind of size that down. It's like, okay, how many network people do we actually need? How many classes do I actually need to take to not only be able to be successful and grow, but to also be able to internally know that I'm in alignment with my own energy and I'm assimilating, right? I am bringing deep wisdom to the topics that I'm studying or I'm engaging with. So as Jupiter is retrograde all the way until February of 2025, now you get to downsize this area just a little bit so that you're really giving it your best attention. Also on the same day, we are going to see that Pluto is back in direct, that Pluto is direct in the energy of Capricorn. Now, this is lighting up your fourth house space. So home, family, real estate, property. And this is not new because Pluto has been working this area really since 2008, but at 29 degrees of Capricorn, which is where it is stationing direct, this is a significant transit and we've been here a couple times. So it continues to trigger this transformation, and it's deep transformation, right? It's about power dynamics. It's about things surfacing that have been hidden issues. And these things have been in your fourth house space. So home, family, real estate, property, things with your parents. So any kind of family dynamics, particularly those with authority or authority figures in your life, you've been reviewing, you've been getting a different grasp on, and it may be that even at this time, as we're experiencing Pluto direct, you've been feeling like you needed to kind of dig into your family or dig into your ancestry or your history or something like that. But it would have been digging Pluto into the family, the authority stories to weed out any underlying issues that you have in your childhood, in how you make your home. Literally, for some of you, it might have been in your home. You might have literally been digging up the piping or something like that. But whatever it is, just know, because it's the fourth house zone, it has been a time for deep emotional transformation connected to all of the things that you have as your foundations. So now as Pluto is direct, you're able to move those things forward and build upon them. It's really beautiful. On the 13th, we've got Mars moving into the... On the 13th, we have got Mercury moving into the vibration of Scorpio. And as Mercury moves into Scorpio, this is really a time about intensifying communication. It intensifies the mind, right? Because Mercury wants all the details and wants to communicate. Mercury's like, just tell me all the stuff. But Scorpio wants to go deep. It wants to uncover hidden truths, what's behind the scene, what's taboo, what are we not talking about, what's really passionate down here. So what also comes with it is a lot of focus. Mercury gets very focused in Scorpio because we're going to be working on something really particular. Now, for you, Libra, this is going to be in the second house. So your values, your self-worth, finances, personal resources that you have at your disposal. So as Mercury comes to this second house, first of all, look forward to financial conversations. You will be communicating about financial or value-based things. And you might also be just engaging in some intense discussions about what you value the most and thus where your money is going. So what I like about this transit the most is that it can really lead to deep thinking about your resources and how you align with them at a deeper level. But it's also great because Mercury is a fantastic strategic planner. So if you needed to create some kind of strategic planning for financial growth or transforming your approach to wealth, whatever you consider to be wealth, this is a great transit for that to happen. On a very practical way too, if you had products or services that you wanted to put out, I would put them out under Mercury in Scorpio, especially because it's lighting up that second house space. Okay, on the 17th, we've got a full moon happening at 24 degrees of Aries, so lighting up that seventh house space right across the street. We've had an eclipse in your sign, so you've been blotted out. Now you're reset, coming back with cute new hair, cute new spiritual balance, cute new you, and that is going to change how you show up in these relationships. So in your conscious chosen one-on-one relationships, you're making a pivot. You're being asked to end, acknowledge, or adjust what's not working in your one-to-one relationships anymore. And it doesn't mean, again, that everything has to fall apart and fall out. I think there's a lot of fear around that. But it does mean when the things aren't working, we need to go, oh, okay, we don't need to do that this way anymore. Let's try something else. It may be a time too under the full moon where you're re-looking at contracts or a negotiation or something like that you have done with people, because in the 7th house, we create contracts with people. That's what binds us to them. You know, whether it's marriage or it's business or it's legal, we are contracted in some way to them. So you might be looking at that and what's happening. And remember, the eclipse was in conversation with that Mars. So there definitely could have been a shakeup to this relationship zone. And now you've got a bit more clarity on how to pivot. Okay. We'll also see on the same day that Venus is going to move into Sagittarius. Now, I like Venus in Sagittarius. I think it's a funny placement for me with Venus here, but for you, it's going to light up your 3rd house space. So this is a lot about communication. Now, Venus is, of course, going to be this attracting energy, bringing optimism, bringing love, bringing value, bringing harmony into the space that she comes, but she's going to do it like a Sagittarius now. So Venus in Sagittarius wants this sense of adventure, wants optimism, but more than that, Venus in Sagittarius wants the experiences that are going to broaden the understanding of love and beauty and harmony through going on the adventure. Now, in the 3rd house for you, this is communication, learning, siblings, buying and selling of things, right? This is going to be about attracting conversations and adventures to you that come through unique perspectives, right? So maybe in a relationship, let's say with your sibling or a neighbor or something like that, you're finding pleasure in going on the adventure of exploring new ideas. This is where Venus is calling this into you. Or maybe you're going to go check out a new neighborhood that you've never been in. Maybe you're going to go on a little short distance trip to a place that you've never seen before. You're going to take a class or listen to a podcast. This is the thing. Venus is not hard to please in Sagittarius. It's the love of the journey that deepens us and connects us in a deeper way, but it comes from going on some kind of adventure. So I look forward to hearing what your adventure is as you experience this Venusian energy, because it's really a lot more than just meeting people from a foreign land, but that could also be something that definitely goes down, okay? As we close out the month on the 22nd, we have got to say happy birthday as the sun rolls into your sign, also bringing in a new season as you are our new season starter. So I want to say happy birthday again, but I also want to say thank you for choosing a lifetime where you get us going into a new season every year. You kick us off into the fall here in the north, and that's an absolutely brilliant thing. But as the sun does come to your sign, it's a really nice time to redefine yourself and redefine/define yourself for the year moving forward. Set your seeds of intention. This is your own annual beginning, Libra. So light it up. Light up the sky. Let this be your own beautiful adventure. So as we get to the 22nd, we're going to see the sun move into the vibration of Scorpio, now lighting up that 2nd house space. Mercury's already been doing the work. You've been having the deep conversations. You've been re-looking at this area. It's probably been quite busy. But now as the sun swoops into Scorpio, you're bringing light, heat, life, and vitality to this 2nd house area. So definitely plan to be focusing on finances, drawing finances to this area. But also the sun gives us a bit of that hustler energy. So you might be really ready to go out and be about making money at this time as well. You could also be selling things that are no longer valuable to you. You're like, I don't need that couch anymore. I don't need this jewelry anymore. And you're letting it go. It could also be a really beautiful time for things like that. All right, my beautiful Libras, I hope you have an absolutely gorgeous month. Please let me know how it's going for you in the comment section down below. Hello, my absolutely beautiful Libra friends, and welcome to your horoscope for October of 2024. And Libra, happy birthday to my Libras that are on this side. And it is going to be a big month. We're starting out the month not only with it being birthday time, which is fantastic, but we're also starting out with this new moon solar eclipse happening at 10 degrees of Libra right at the beginning of the month, right in your sign. So giving us these keys and these symbols that you are really being eclipsed here. You're being blotted out and reset. So you get a chance to define or redefine yourself. This could be down to your image. You're getting that haircut. You're changing your style. You're losing weight. You're gaining weight. But you are deciding how you physically want to present yourself in the world for the next year going forward. It's a really big deal. And as a matter of fact, because this is some eclipse energy, this is actually going to be a pivot that you're making that will impact your life for the next 19 years. So have a think about that. All right, Libra, let's jump in here and see what's going on as we get into October. My absolutely brilliant and beautiful Scorpio friends, and welcome to your horoscope for October of 2024. And right out of the gate, let me say it. Happy birthday, Scorpios. Yes, I know we're not getting on with the business of getting on until towards the end of the month, but Scorpio, happy birthday. And I hope that you have taken a chance to rest this season. I hope that you have taken a chance even in the months before to bring your year to a close as you get ready to restart your annual year, your personal new year. Now, the big ticket item that we're working with this month is that we're going to come into the month with this new moon solar eclipse that's going to be happening in Libra, so lighting up your 12th house space. Now, Scorpio, there's a lot that goes on in that 12th house bubble because it's the house of the things that are unseen. We put a lot in that back house, okay? There's a lot going on out back. But one of the things that comes to our conception are things having to do with spirituality, spiritual changes, things having to do with your overall beliefs, connections, partnerships, and attitudes that have to do with your behavior patterns, some of which could actually lead to your own undoing. The places and the spaces and the ways, Scorpio, that you have potentially blocked, even if it's unconsciously until now, patterns, yourself letting go of patterns that are just no longer serving you or old habits. So we're going to have this eclipse light up that space. The other thing I want to celebrate about the eclipse happening this month is that it's not new, right? You're giving an old thing its next big breath of air to go in a fresh direction because we've been working in the Libra Aries axes for over a year now. So you're well in the seat. This is the 5th of 6 eclipses. So you do know what you're working on. This 12th house has been getting plenty of action. Now, the other thing that I want to always keep in mind when we're dealing with lunar energy is anything that it's connected to. So this particular eclipse is going to put some emphasis in a connection with Mars. So Mars being one of your ruling planets also lets us know that things could be happening just in your daily routine, but also, Scorpio, things in your health. So I'm not saying at the beginning of this reading that I think that anything is going wrong with your health. I'm saying there's some emphasis here. You're maybe having to be more spiritual about your health, right? You're coming to a place where it's like, wow, I really have to look at how stress is affecting my body, how tension and cortisol they're keeping me. It's a bad behavior pattern. It's an energetic chemical behavior pattern that is keeping me burnt out and keeping me from moving forward in the directions that I would like to go. So addressing your spiritual practice and seeing how it also lines up with your health, I think, will be a huge theme going on for you this month. And then, of course, we'll get to birthday season at the end of the month and we'll start getting to the new you, Scorpio. So let's jump on in here and see what is happening this month. So right at the beginning of the month on the 2nd, we've got that new moon solar eclipse happening at 10 degrees of Libra. And don't worry, there's going to be a full new moon solar eclipse in Libra breakdown of just that lunation so you can really get into the nitty gritty of all of the pieces. But what you want to know, Scorpio, is that this is lighting up your 12th house space. So it's bringing a new change of direction to your spiritual practices, to your creative practices, maybe even to the relationship that you have with rest and ease and slowing down and pleasure and letting things come and go, letting things culminate, bringing things to an end. I mean, there's so much that goes into this spiritual space of letting go, assimilating all you've learned, and then allowing it to pass off. Now, for some of you as well, because this is a Libra vibration, it has so much much to do with relationships, whether it be a spiritual teacher, and I literally mean that. Is it a spiritual teacher? Is there someone you think is like a guru, or you've been going to their yoga class, or it's your sponsor? What is it? There's could be something that's like a spiritual teacher, and they've got some changes coming in their lives. But I also think that the people who are our spiritual teachers, and they didn't necessarily mean to be, like when we have babies in the NICU, or we have people who have dementia or Alzheimer's, and they end up being our spiritual teachers because they teach us the fine line between life and death here and there. And they really become these profound human body spiritual teachers for us. So there could definitely be some changes coming in that direction as well. And those changes will continue to pour out over this next 6 months, okay? When we get to the 9th, we're going to see that Jupiter takes a retrograde at 21 degrees of Gemini, lighting up your 8th house space. Now, Jupiter is going to be going backwards in Gemini up to 11 degrees of Gemini. So you want to be grabbing your chart, Scorpio, and looking at 11 to 21 degrees of Gemini, because that's where this work is going to take place. Now, as Jupiter is traveling in a retrograde fashion, it's sending us back in to reflect. It's a really internal vibration, unless, of course, you have Jupiter retrograde in your personal natal chart, then you're coming out. We're all running in and you are coming out. You've been thinking and introspecting about it enough. Now it is time to expand, okay? But for the rest of us going into this Jupiter retrograde, what we want to keep in mind is that Jupiter sends us in and asks us if we are in alignment and on course with our own growth. Like, are we traveling in a direction? And do we have the internal capacity, wisdom, and knowledge, philosophies to grow forward, right? To develop a happy life, to develop something that we can be successful with. So this encouragement of this inward looking energy and this reflection is really a soul searching over the next 4 months. And it's about what is in alignment with your future, and spiritually, what do you need to develop so that materially you can manifest that? Spiritually, what do you need to develop so that, emotionally you're not giving birth or continuing destructive patterns that are not going to continue to help you moving forward. So the other thing I just want to say about this is because it's the 8th house, which is, again, Scorpio, you're the natural ruler of the 8th house space. So as Jupiter goes retrograde in this 8th house, I think we do also have conversations of death and the things that are dying or dying off, whether they're dying off in us because they can't exist anymore, or people, places, and things in our lives are actually dying off. And we are again called to this space where we're walking the line of really understanding that we live hand in hand with life and death every day, and how much that is a dance of learning to master life and death as well. So this could be something that is really coming up in your terms as like a relevant issue as Jupiter is taking this retrograde. Then we're also going to see Pluto going direct in Capricorn. Okay, so this is going to be just a whole vibe. Excuse me, this is on the 11th. So we're going to see Pluto going direct here in Capricorn, but it's still a whole vibe. They're just within a couple days of each other. So the energy is quite potent. Now, Pluto turned retrograde May 2nd at 2 degrees of Aquarius. So had just pushed to that 2 degrees, took us into a new world. And then it's come back to this 29 degree of Capricorn. So first of all, it gave us an opportunity to go back over what we had learned in those first 3 degrees of Aquarius, 0 degrees, 1 degrees, 2 degrees. What did we learn? What did we see about the new world that's going forward, right? And for you, what did you see in your home, family, real estate, property? And now you're getting an opportunity, Scorpio, to go, how am I going to make money? What's the work from home vibe? What's going on in the story of my family history? These kinds of things. And as Pluto is direct at this 29 degrees, it is a significant transformation lighting up your 3rd house space and giving you one last look at, bringing transformation to your thinking patterns, mental activity, rethinking old ideas that you had and seeing if they're still valuable and you can do something with them. Of course, anything having to do with relationships with siblings, neighbors, neighborhood, things like that would all be in here as well. But I think that there's such a shift to your perspective, especially about the old way of living, doing, and being in the world, because Pluto works as an outer planet. So it also shapes the way that the structure of the world has been governed, and that is coming to its final death. So are you prepared to keep your own home, right, in the new world as we go forward. Well, you're getting your last opportunities to take a look at that and make some peace and see what needs to die off so that you can move forward. But the good news is I think that you are really relatively prepared, or at least you have the things you need in your toolbox to help you be successful. On the 13th, we see Mercury going into Scorpio, so coming into your sign. Now it gets busy, right? It gets busy. Mercury coming to any area of the chart busies it up. So there could be a lot of phone calls, or you're talking about a lot of things. There could be a lot of intense communication. That's what happens when Mercury gets into Scorpio, an intense communication, because you want to go deep, right? You're like, no, I'm not here for the stuff that's not hidden. I'm here to uncover hidden truths. I want to go deeper. And so Scorpio, your nature of dealing with Mercury is very focused. You get focused into what you're doing. Now, one of the things that I think is great about that is, first of all, it's like you're getting to newly identify yourself and also your personal approach to life, right? What is your communication style? Are you more intense? Are you finding you're more probing? Are you finding you have more depth to offer? Are you presenting yourself in some way where you're talking about something mystic or mystical, or you just have this aura about you? Is there a conversation that you're having that's a lot more personal and it's deep, so it's a little bit more vulnerable? Whatever it is, this particular transit, it's really a good time for self-discovery. It's a time for looking at how you're expressing yourself authentically. And it's a great time for looking at how you're expressing yourself at all based on the depth of information that's here. I am seeing this too. Some of you may be doing a presentation or something like that for the first time. And you were nervous to do it. Now you're kind of coming out and doing it. Don't worry, it's probably going to be great, okay? On the 17th, we've got a full moon happening at 24 degrees of Aries, your fellow Martian energy. Now, this is lighting up your 6th house space. So as the full moon is here, Scorpio, you're being asked to end something, acknowledge something, or make an adjustment. You need a pivot of some variety. And in the 6th house, this is around your health, your wellness, your daily routines, including your mental health and wellness, by the way. You know, how does stress impact the body? How does stress bring extra cortisol in the body so that it doesn't matter how hard you're working out, your body's still holding the signature of cortisol stress, so it's never going to lose the weight. It's never going to change direction. How is energy impacting your mind, your brain? Scorpio, have there been any head injuries and you've needed to adapt and now you're going forward in a different way? Have there been any Aries body injuries and now you're having to cope and move forward in a different direction? Whatever it is, you're just being asked to pivot. And what you're being asked to pivot from in particular started 2.5 years ago. So what was going on in the journey of your life 2.5 years ago that this full moon is going, we are taking a different route going forward? Now, when we close out the month on the 22nd, we are going to see that the sun moves into your sign, into Scorpio, welcoming a happy birthday time. Happy, happy birthday. I hope that you have some beautiful plans for yourself for the year to celebrate another year, going around, getting another year older, getting a little bit more wisdom in your backpack. And hopefully you can take that wisdom, celebrate what you've learned, and also get ready for what you would like to experience in this next year, because holding on to what was may not serve you very well in the next year coming forward. So do your best to just hold on, Scorpio, to what's actually needed and still serving and going on the adventure and the journey of life with you, and let go of those things that cannot. All right, my absolute beautiful Scorpio. Hello, my absolutely beautiful Sagittarius friends, and welcome to your horoscope for October of 2024, where Sagittarius, the big news this month is that we have not only got a new moon solar eclipse happening in Libra, but also that it is happening as soon as we come into the month, followed very quickly by your ruling planet heading into retrograde until 2025. So it is a month where we definitely got some action, and it's a shifting of energies. And for you, Sagittarius, the shift and the change really has a lot to do around your social group. And I like this for you because it's really an opportunity, I think, for you to begin a cycle where you're pulling to you the right kind of tribe or the right kind of social messaging or the right kind of social alignments, right? Because it's really got so much to do with, are you in the right tribe? But in order to be in the right tribe, you've had to also take a lot of leadership to say, this is who I am, this is what I'm interested in. You've needed to differentiate, okay, this is the direction I want to go. And something that I think about to hold just a vision in your mind of how this has been being done is, when you go to college, or the idea of college, and you go and it's just a general thing. Okay, so it's just everybody on campus, we could be friends with all of them. And then you say, but I would actually like to study biology, or I would like to study Mediterranean cooking, right? So then you end up down the road of the Mediterranean cooking people. And yes, maybe some of the people from the general still hang out with you, but ultimately you're going into a very specific place where you can be loved on, supported, and grow within a particular niche. So that is something that I think that this eclipse really brings to your attention. All right, Sagittarius, let's jump in and talk about what this month has to offer. So right at the beginning of the month, on the 2nd, we've got that new moon solar eclipse happening at that 10 degrees of Libra. Now, this is going to impact that 11th house for you. So social groupings, friends, social media, organizations you're connected to, but also Sagittarius, this has a lot to do with your long-range goals, plans, and designs that you have for yourself, and needing to be in the right communities and with the right kind of people to support you getting there. So I'm telling you, don't be surprised if there are upheavals in your relationships around friendships. And it could also be that you're not necessarily doing anything, but people are separating from you. They're like, yeah, this is not the right connection for me. And that's also just as good, because it means that you're open to draw in the crowd that is right for you. Now, this particular particular moon is going to have an impact on Mars. So it's also something where, there's a redefining of self-expression that has a fair amount to do, I think, with just really telling the truth about who you want so that the future changes can be aligned. You know what I mean? Because when we get into new situations and we go new places and we meet new faces, that means that our future is going to change. And that's a really big deal. Now, for those of you too who have children, there could be changes happening in their social world as well. We're in a new school year. Maybe they're not hanging out with some people, or if they're adult children, whatever it is, the social group is changing for them as well. Now, on the 9th, we're going to see Jupiter go retrograde at 21 degrees of Gemini. Now, Jupiter is going to dance between the 11 degrees of Gemini and the 21 degrees of Gemini. And of course, this is in your relationship house. So right across the street, all relationships all the time. But it's not just any kind of relationship. It's a conscious, chosen one-on-one relationship. Like, the people that you are engaging with here. And you're engaging with them because you can't go any further on your own. You have to be in some kind of partnership or tandem with them. So whether this is a marriage or something that you have contracted into, or a business partnership, this could also be you and maybe you have a legal situation, but who the open enemy is, who the person is who's on the other side of that case. It could be something that's with someone just very significant in your life, and you're getting new information and you're having to go back in and do an internal dive to say, what really is in alignment with where I feel like I can be happy and where I can be successful and what I need to be really fulfilled. And then you're going to look at this against your relationships and say, okay, well, these are the relationships I have. Are they the right ones? Or do I need to grow and develop in some way that will allow me to discover these things, allow me to unfold in this journey, allow this relationship to not only be tested, but to be growing? Certainly Jupiter, as your ruling planet as well, I think helps to get rid of bad behaviors, especially if they are destructive or they have just not been helping you. That'll be something that I think is definitely symptomatic of bringing it to your attention, especially in Gemini, because Gemini is just going to bring you information. It's going to be like, when you do this, this happens, and you've been doing this, and this is happening for a long time. So is this working for us? It's really, really helpful there. Now, we're going to see on the 11th that Pluto is going to go direct at 29 degrees of Capricorn. Pluto working in Capricorn is nothing new. It's nothing new. It's been here for, since 2008, really. But this 29 degrees of Capricorn is really important for us to be paying attention to, because it's a significant transit. It's an anaretic degree. It's action-packed. So it's bringing about plenty of transformation. It is bringing about things that trigger off transformation, power dynamics, things that have been hidden or that have been, underneath the surface. They've been sick in the root. They rise to the surface so that they can be dealt with. Now, Pluto has been working for you, of course, in Capricorn in this second house space, which is about finances, right? This is an asset kind of house. So your finances, but it's also, Sagittarius, it's about your self-worth. Okay. It's also about the things that you value. What do you value? Your possessions. Why do you value them? So this period has been a lot about, first of all, bringing some kind of financial restructuring or education. And it's not always been easy or comfortable, right? So it's also been shifting that for you, but shifting how you value material and non-material things as well. Any issues that have been related to your self-esteem or to what makes you feel secure, these things could have really been up, especially through the summer. Oh, these might have been loud and proud in your attention because they demand that you take a deeper look at what needs to shift and transform in order for you to come to the other side of that. And typically it will demand that you get some kind of teacher or coach or program or something structured to help you build the discipline and rebuild yourself or restructure yourself in that way. Now, as we get to the 13th, we're going to see Mercury move into the vibration of Scorpio. And as Mercury is in Scorpio, first of all, it intensifies communication. It intensifies our thinking, right? Because Scorpio, Mercury wants the information. It's like, just give me the information, give me the facts, let me see the pattern, I'll pick it out. But Scorpio is like, yeah, but I want to uncover the truth about why this pattern is the pattern. So you're going to go deep. You're going to go uncovering things. There's a focus here. And that's not bad. It can also be a really, really delicious experience. But for you, this is happening in the 12th house space. So Sagittarius, during this transit, looking at, first of all, spirituality or things esoteric, okay? But things that are happening behind the scenes that are hidden, and they can be the source of your own undoing. But also your subconscious mind, because that's something that's happening behind the scenes as well. So during this transit, you may feel like your thought life or your communication life even is turned inward, right? You're focusing on your subconscious patterns, your subconscious mind, spirituality, anything that has been behavior patterns that have been destructive. And it is a time while Mercury's here to deeply reflect. It is a fantastic time to deeply explore your psychological roots. What's this behavior? Where is this coming from? And how do I come to the other side of it? Now, you might not be doing that as up and loud and proud as some other people, because your communication during this transit might feel more private, or it might feel more vulnerable, or, you're more introspective, so you're just sharing with like one particular person or a therapist or somebody that you trust. But whatever's happening, if you will share and you will engage this, you can uncover secrets. You can find what has been hidden. And once it comes to the light, it's really valuable. Now, this is also useful for my Sagittarian friends who are doing like research. Maybe you're doing research, or you're, trying to research a project, or you're something like that. The information can come to light at this particular time. Okay, on the 17th, we've got a full moon happening at 24 degrees of Aries, and this is lighting up that 5th house space, so just opposite that eclipse that we got to experience. So this is a lot to do with the children's space: joy, pleasure, play, childlike energy, self-expression, just being joyful. There's romance that can come in here. But at the full moon, you're being asked to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment, right? You need to pivot in some way from this area. Now, sometimes what this can be, it's really interesting as we get older. It is like, where am I going to be taking the lead? Even from my childhood, right? As the child of my parents, where am I going to take the lead to find joy, to have joy in my life, to have joy in my being? Where am I going to express my own needs and my own wants? And I'm coming into my voice in a different way. But also, you might be willing to say, I'm ready for a little romance. And what needs to happen in the Aries energy is your body, your confidence, your courage. Are you ready to go out there and live joyful? Do you feel joyful in your physical form? Do you feel joyful in your being and how you lead and guide your own life? Now, again, for some of you who have children, This is going to be fresh starts for them, and you may find brand new forms of expression coming for them, which is always exciting in its own way, right? We're also going to see on the same day that Venus moves into the vibration of Sagittarius on the same day. Now, Venus traveling through Sag, just first of all, when it comes to the first house, okay, like it beautifies you. You become beautiful, you become magnetic, you're just pulling things to you. Yes, 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 yes. It's a wonderful transit. But the other thing about it is that Venus in Sagittarius, besides the adventure and the optimism that, is you, it's going to show you your real love and your real value of travel, of yourself out in the world, of how you want to express yourself, your appearance, your personal approach to how you're out in the world. These are going to be major conceptions because Venus here doesn't just want to expand. It doesn't just want to go on the adventure. It means that you want to be in the world and mean deeply and meaningfully something to your own life and something in the lives of other people, right? You're seeking a higher truth or some kind of understanding, which is very much so your way. So being content with something superficial, especially in terms of relationships or something just being only an intellectual connection, you're like, no, I need something that aligns with a greater purpose for me to really be connected to. So you become the most romantic journey and exploration that you go on, and that's the adventure, Sagittarius, right? So each new connection, each new thought you make for yourself is an opportunity for you to see yourself broaden your own horizons, okay? And of course, because this is in the first house as well, I think of things like, first of all, Venus is calling in. So what kind of people are you attracting to you? Are you living in your freedom and that free spirit? Are you living in a particular philosophical belief and this is pulling people right to you? They're pulling you to that Sagittarius adventure, but also your personal style may really be changing right now. Your body may be changing right now. So let me know in the comment section down below what that means for you. Now, as we're going to close out the month on the 22nd, we'll see the sun now move into that Scorpio area. So where Mercury's been doing the work, gathering the details, getting all the data sorted and together. Now the sun is bringing light, heat, life, and vitality. And you're going to be motivated to tackle these things, actually be in a lot of motion with them, move them forward, move with a sense of depth and purpose, but also move with a sense of willing transformation. Now, for some of you Sagittarians too, I think you might just be studying a lot of astrology, tarot, numerology, something like that. But other ones of you, you may be getting into some pain point of things like addictions where you need help. You need help, you need spiritual help, you need spiritual connection, you need counsel. Scorpio is the natural counselor because they can take you to hell and back because they know the way, right? Hello, my absolutely beautiful Capricorn friends, and welcome to your horoscope for October of 2024. We're Capricorn this month. The big news is that we've got a new moon solar eclipse happening in Libra. This is going to light up your 10th house space. The other piece of big news that I think is important to know about this eclipse is that it's not new. We've been working on this. This is eclipse 5 out of 6. So we've been working on this axis for over a year. So Capricorn, in terms of what's going to be happening in this 10th house, the shifting of careers and things like that, I actually think that while impactful, this is not the biggest eclipse potentially, in the general, it's not the biggest eclipse to have into your career zone. Instead of it's more of a course correction. Now, the other piece of big deal information is that Pluto is coming direct at 29 degrees of Capricorn. So really powerful, anaretic degree, big changes, big stepping into the changes that have already been made within, and through you. So I think it's a really important month to be paying a bit of attention to. So let's jump in, Capricorn, to talk about what October has to offer. Now, first and foremost, on the 2nd, we've got that new moon solar eclipse happening in the vibration of Libra. So lighting up your 10th house space, okay? So at the solar eclipse, you're being blotted out. You get a reset, but this is a new moon one. So you're like, it's blotting out the previous plan. You were like, I'm heading in this direction. I want to do it like this. And this particular new moon is like, that's not exactly the right balanced approach or relationship for you to be taking in this direction. So it doesn't mean that you have to quit your job, quit your relationship, quit your marriage, quit any of those things. It's just that you need to come at them or go after them a little bit differently. Like the plan just needs a bit of adjustment. That's all. So I think that's really interesting in this repeating pattern of being on the Aries and Libra axes, that instead of being worried about this eclipse just knocking that job out for you, knocking that relationship out, that you really have a place where you can plant your seeds of intention to say, how do I want to move forward and make these changes where I can experience, and in my relationships, we can experience something that's a lot more balanced, a lot more harmonious, has a different story or authority over how you govern your career area. So it's a pretty nice little big eclipse to be experiencing. So let me know what's happening for you in the career zone. Now on the 9th, we're going to see Jupiter go retrograde at 21 degrees of Gemini, and Jupiter will be taking its retrograde from 11 degrees of Gemini through that 21 degrees of Gemini. That's the placements that we are watching. And we will not see Jupiter come out of its retrograde until February of 2025. So make a little bit of room for the reflection of everything that Jupiter and Gemini has been bringing into your life. Now, this transit has been lighting up your 6th house space, so your daily routines, your health, your wellness, co-workers, things having to do with your mental health and wellness, things having to do with if you own your own business or you're a freelancer. These have been really important topics where Jupiter's maybe expanded you out. Now, one thing to know is that Jupiter's expansion out is great. It might have brought you business. It might have brought you moving in different directions. For some of you, it might have brought you putting on some weight, and that is good or challenging depending on where you're trying to go, or helped you get towards a goal. But now we need to kind of size it down, right? Jupiter goes big or goes home, and now we need to come back home is really what's going on. So as Jupiter is going to take this retrograde, it's an opportunity to take that inward look, go within and say, okay, with what's been brought into my life and my world, which are the things that would really make me feel fulfilled and would really align with me being and feeling myself being successful and happy? And how do I, align with those things and let shed the other ones that'll be more of a distraction or more of a set of behaviors I'm trying to live in that are not actually taking me where I want to go. So the Jupiter retrograde all the way until February will help you get that sorted out, okay? So if you did need to lose weight for some reason, this would be a great time to make those plans. On the 11th, we see Pluto coming direct at that 29 degrees of Capricorn. And like I said, it is huge because 29 degrees is an anaretic degree. It is showing that we have mastery over some concepts that have happened. And Pluto's been working through your sign since 2008. You have been being massively transformed. The power dynamics in your life, things having to do with you dying off, other relationships dying off in your life, becoming more empowered, seeing things from a completely different perspective, hidden issues rising to the surface. This has all been real big work that has been going on for you. So as we see Pluto now coming direct, looking at your identity, your body, your self-image, your own personal power, it may have been that during the retrograde time, you were feeling a little bit more compelled to reassess this area and to reassess your sense of self, or maybe a project that you were putting yourself out there in, and maybe hidden pieces of you were presented to you. Right? Pluto is going to dig. Pluto is going to dig and go, well, what's this over here? So these hidden portions of our belief system or our personalities, get shown. And sometimes that's really great because you're like, oh, I didn't know I was really good at this. And then here you are, you have this whole other piece of you that is blossoming and you can work with it and becomes empowered by coming out of hiding. And other times what has happened is, you get confronted with something in a relationship, probably a primary relationship, and it is deep-rooted, it gets lifted to the surface, and you're able to pull that root out and thus be transformed. And I do think on a subtle level for some of you, if you were hidden yourself, if you were the root that was hidden, as Pluto has finished its retrograde, you may just actually start to be more visible yourself, and you're coming into a new title or a new name or a new presence that is very empowered. So that's really interesting. I love to see how that plays out for you. Okay, as we are getting to the 13th, we see Mercury now moving in the vibration of Scorpio, lighting up your 11th house space. As Mercury gets into Scorpio, first of all, it's going to make your social circle busy. Where Mercury goes, it brings busyness because it's bringing the tea, it's bringing information, it's looking at patterns, it's networking, right? But Mercury in Scorpio in your 11th house is going to intensify communications. It's going to bring a desire to get to the root of things, to be more focused, to go more deeply about the things that you're talking about. And it's in your 11th house. So social groupings, friends, groups that you're aligned with, your tribe, things on social media, you might be bringing in deeper, maybe even darker, more content. You're actually interested in it during this transit. But the other thing I think it brings an intense focus to is your long-range plans, goals, and designs. And are you aligned with the correct teachers, the correct friends, the correct networking group, the correct social medias, the correct organizations to get you where you would like to go? Right? So there's going to be some big questions happening around that for you. Now, to the other side of this, because it's friendships, social groups, and those kinds of things, yes, the conversations that you're having with your friends and your groups can get a little bit deeper, but your friends could also be bringing more taboo or darker or heavier or more strange conversations into your life and into your world. And it can be a really good time for deepening connection, for sure, especially if you're like-minded. And other things you might be like, no, that is not for me. And so it actually shows you where you can, Scorpio, let die off of relationships that are not serving its greatest good for everyone involved. On the 17th, we've got a full moon happening at 24 degrees of Aries. This will be lighting up your 4th house space, home, family, real estate, property. And again, you've been working this 10th house, 4th house axis for over a year. So this is not new information. Instead, it's just about you taking ownership and making a pivot. Do you want to move, right? Are you ending a lease? You need to acknowledge this is not right place. You need to adjust even the way that your house is set up because it's not flowing right. Or you need to finish a project, bring something to culmination. Are there things happening with your parents? Whatever it is, you're making a pivot here. And you're saying some of these things, I can see them emotionally. I don't need to be so connected to them anymore. So I'm going to let free what doesn't need to stay here. And I'm going to take the active action of taking on what actually does need to be done. I'm going to do it. I will be responsible for me. Now, the other things I think about in the Aries zone are really the body, right? How much of is what's happening for you in your home around your physical body? Are you doing a stretching routine? Have you guys seen that guy, Yoga Body? Oh man, he's so cool. He has a whole intense stretching program, and you can do it in your home. I'm thinking about stuff like that. So, is that a thing that's going on for you, or what's going on? Are you working from home and you're really having to take the lead? Whatever it is, the home, family, real estate, and property changes are abundant for us at that full moon. Now, as we're going to close out the month on the 22nd, we've got the sun now moving into that Scorpio vibration. So Mercury busied it up, brought new information, patterns, and social things to the table. Now the sun is going to be motivated to really take action on them, to really shine here, to shine in your friends, to shine in your social groups, to maybe come out of hiding in some way, to step into your empowerment, right? To cut away the friends, social groupings, distraction media, distraction channels, distraction scrolling that is not actually going to get you on the road to the aspirations that you really have for yourself, Capricorn. So you'll have to let me know about how the whole beautiful month goes in the comment section down below. All right, Capricorns, I love you, and I'll see you in November. Hello, my beautiful Aquarius friends, and welcome to your horoscope for October of 2024, where Aquarius, this month, the big news is that we have got another new moon solar eclipse. This one is happening in Libra, lighting up your 9th house space. But the thing to think about it and to keep this in mind is that this is not, it is an important eclipse. All eclipses are important, but it's not new per se. It's going to take something that you've been looking at for, really over a year as we've worked with the Libra and Aries axes. And it's just going to show you like a course correction you need to make with it, or just a little change comes to the table. Now, this is, of course, in the general. You need to be mindful of if this is happening in your own particular chart. So make sure that you grab that. But in the general, this is not the eclipse that I think resets everything. I think instead it shifts the perspective enough so that you're really really on the right course. Now, we're also going to have this month, we're going to have the full moon happening in Aries. So just to the other side of that 9th house in the 3rd house. So I do think that it's really quite possible this month that things going on with siblings, neighbors in your neighborhood, something like that, could also have a little bit to do with the shift that is happening. So let's jump in and talk about what's going on. Right at the beginning of the month on the 2nd, we've got the new moon solar eclipse happening at 10 degrees of Libra, again, lighting up that 9th house space. So first of all, the eclipse in Libra is really this opportunity to highlight our themes of balance and what you would like to bring into your world around balance. But the eclipse is blotting it out. So it's not blotting out all of your relationships. It's not blotting out all of your higher education, publishing, marketing, broadcasting, international travel plans. It's not blotting those out. Instead, it's saying, okay, hold on. What are the right relationships that need to be connected to this so that you're in true partnership? Things are harmonious, are in justice, are, like there's a fairness about what's going on, and which ones need to be cut out. So as you're seeing this impact this 9th house space, absolutely, not only could your higher education, and I'm talking college age and above, okay, your higher education plans, your travel plans, but also your philosophical beliefs, the level of faith that you've been working with, these can be challenged. And you're setting new seeds of intention to begin something new here because you want to grow it. You want to explore a new land, a new philosophy, a new educational path instead of what has just been as a long held belief. Going to college because they said you have to go to college. You're like, well, I want to go to a trade school, or I'd like to take this training because I think I can actually be helpful in this way, right? Now, anything too having to do with travel or these educational pursuits or these expanding or marketing pursuits, I think you do have to be mindful that there could be a little bit of delay that comes with them, but it won't last very long. I think you have a lot more clarity by the time we get to the full moon on the 17th. On the 9th, we see Jupiter going retrograde at 21 degrees of Gemini, and this is going to be between 21 degrees of Gemini and 11 degrees of Gemini. So as it's backing up, make sure you check out those particular areas in your chart. But this is going to be lighting up the 5th house space, okay? So this is joy, pleasure, play, children, self-expression, romance, new romance that's coming into your life, taking a risk on something, So as this area is being lit up, Jupiter has been drawing people, drawing gatherings, drawing networks, pulling new information into this area of your chart. And now as Jupiter goes retrograde all the way until February of 2025, it's saying, okay, we need to see which things are actually in alignment. We need to cut away those things that are not. And in terms of spiritual information and content, if you've had behaviors or addictions, or you've had ways of expressing yourself, or something's been really challenging for your children that has been more destructive than helpful, as Jupiter is taking this retrograde, you'll have a chance to get these things under control. Right? You're going to go, okay, what actually helps us grow and get on the path here? So that's going to be, I think, a really important transit. It's very subtle, but I do think it's really important. On the 11th, we see Pluto going direct at 29 degrees of Capricorn. Now, this is, again, not new information. That's what I really like about October, is that it's not that it's new information. It's that we're coming at it from completely different perspectives and actions at this point. But this 29 degrees of Capricorn is significant because it's an anaretic degree and it triggers us, right? It triggers a transformation. It triggers us to look at power dynamics. It triggers things that have been hidden to rise to the surface. And a lot of this will also have to do with what's even happening in our society. What's happening in our world? What are the laws that have governed things? What are the practices of business that have governed things, right? So as you're looking back, and this is in your 12th house space, some of the questions that you're going to be stepping forward into bringing the answers to reality is, what's been going on spiritually for you, Aquarius? What are things that have been maybe hidden or behind the scenes that you've been working on? And now as Pluto is direct at this 29 degrees, even subconsciously, you realize what had to die off in order for you to change. You've maybe done a fair amount of that deep inner work and that inner spiritual transformation has needed to happen. And it would likely have needed to happen because there was a hidden fear or a subconscious pattern or an unresolved issue that came to the surface. And so you were in place to need to confront those things. And certainly as Pluto is direct now and moving forward, I think that the opportunity to confront and release these things, especially if they've been holding you back or hostage in any way, it can be done in a more profound and empowered way. When we get to the 13th, we see Mercury moving into the vibration of Scorpio for its transit. Now, as Mercury comes into Scorpio, first of all, it gets deep, okay? Because Mercury wants the details, it wants the information. So it's bringing information and communication to this space, but it's going deep like a Scorpio. It's probing, it's uncovering the truth. It's very focused and in depth with what it is doing and working on. So for you, this is going to be in your 10th house space of careers, public life, your reputation, your authority, what do we call you in public? So during this transit, you might be communicating with a bit more intensity, especially in your professional life or in ways in your life where you're putting together a lot of strategy, right? Or you're needing to come up against things that have been control or power dynamics and you're needing to speak to it. Now, one of the things I would share with you, Aquarius, is to be mindful during this transit about how you use your words. Okay, be mindful of how you speak and how you use your words because they really have an opportunity to impact how we see you, what we call you in public. It could literally change your name in public. Other things that I think about, though, is that there could just be a deeper layer of your career or the work that you're doing, and you're kind of uncovering it. You're like, whoa. Okay, actually, I don't need to do more. I need to do less, but more efficiently. And it would also put you in the space of something very scorpionic and psychological, which is the death of old thinking. The death of an old story that you've been rocking and rolling with for a while. And now you're like, I don't need that. I just need to work more efficiently. But because of something that came up in my childhood, but because of a story I tell myself, I've been saying I need to just do more, be better, better, better. And it's really that I need to release, relax, and work more efficiently. So these kind of conceptions and brushes with death, in terms of our psychology or even our titles dying off, I think are real things. Okay. I don't know why, but I just feel like this needs to be said as well. For some of you, this could be a transitioning of someone who's either the matriarch or patriarch in your home. And whether it be that they're actually passing, because I never predict birth or death, that is not my role, but it's like something about their name is transitioning to the next stage of life. Okay. All right, when we get to the 17th, we've got the full moon at 24 degrees of Aries, and this is lighting up that third house space for you. So again, you're pivoting. You're being asked to end something, acknowledge something, or make a pivot or adjustment from something happening with your siblings, something happening in your neighborhood around buying, selling houses, but also at a beginning level of education. We saw that the eclipse was working on the college age. So anything under college age, now Aries is working on. This full moon is going, I need to usher a new path, or I'd like to begin learning or begin communicating or begin a contract in a different direction, okay? Now, as we're going to close out the month on the 22nd, we see the sun moving into Scorpio, bringing light, heat, life, and vitality. So you are motivated to really get to work on all of the things that Mercury over this last couple weeks has been shining bright to you. It's been gathering the patterns. It's been gathering the information, the phone numbers, the data, the research, all of the things. And now as the sun is here, you can really take action. So you're going a little bit deeper. You're having these psychological conversations. You're having taboo conversations, maybe even, you're going more deeply into what you would really like to do as a career in order to feel like you can be profoundly happy and useful in this world. All right, my beautiful Aquarius friends, let me know how October goes for you. Put it in the comment section down below. I'll be checking for you, and I will also see you in November. Hello, my absolutely beautiful Pisces friends, and welcome to your horoscope for October of 2024, where Pisces, the hot ticket item this month is that we are having a new moon solar eclipse in Libra. But I do have to say that unlike other eclipses that we have had in the Libra and Aries axes. I don't feel like this one, at least in the general, is as startling or as like, whoa, where did that come from? Instead, this particular eclipse, I think, is more of a fresh start, or like you were making a plan about something and now you're revealed new information and you're like, oh, okay, we can still go on with the plan, but it needs to go in a different direction, or we need to go about the plan in a different way. So I feel like it's less startling, but it will still be impactful, okay? Now, also this month, we are going to see that we have got the full moon happening to the other side of that in the energy of Aries. So there is also this element in both of these lunations of financial connections and partnership connections, definitely getting a bit of a course correct. I will say that whatever happens at this new moon solar eclipse, if there's a lack of clarity, I do think you have more clarity by the time we get to the full moon. All right, Pisces, let's jump in and talk about what's going on in October. So right at the beginning of the month on the 2nd, we've got that new moon solar eclipse happening at 10 degrees of Libra, and this lights up your 8th house space. So the 8th house is about intimacy and assets, right? So any place where you are intimately connected and tied to another human being. So think your spouse, your partner, your spouse's money, maybe an inheritance, a estate planning and inheritance, something like that. Okay, so we're going to have these pieces of information that we're kind of forced to look at and course correct. Now, this could also be something that you're studying in terms of the realms of psychology, or you're healing, you're detoxing something from your system so that you can transform and come to the other side. So there's plenty going on in this 8th house that also has to do with transforming from one thing to the other. And one of those things is looking at, Pisces, all of the things in this area of your life, especially over this last year, that have needed to die off in order for this area of your life to live more empowered. Right? And there have been psychological things that have died off in this area. There have been relationships that have broken off in this area. There have been financial crises that have happened in this area, but there's also been financial and relationship abundance, because things just needed to die off in one way so that they could live in another. This eclipse is going to continue to be a conversation of those energies. Now, on the 9th, we've got Jupiter, one of your ruling planets, going retrograde at 21 degrees of Gemini, backing up all the way to 11 degrees of Gemini and coming direct in February of 2025. So this Jupiter in Gemini energy has been in your 4th house: home, family, real estate, property, things having to do with parents, parenting, your roots, all of that. And Jupiter, as it expanded on in here into Gemini, would have widened this circle. It brought more information, more people, more opportunity, more busyness. And now that it's Jupiter is going to go retrograde, we've got an opportunity to kind of reduce it, to go, okay, all of these things came in. Now let me cut back and actually ask the introspective question. Which one of these things is actually going to make me happy? Which one of these things actually makes me feel fulfilled? Which one of these things actually is the right thing on my path of growth and development? Because even though everything came in, it doesn't mean that everything is to stay. And that is something that you'll be under review until February. Now, on the 11th, we're going to see Pluto coming direct at 29 degrees of Capricorn, and this is happening in your 11th house space. So Pluto's been working through Capricorn since 2008. So there's been some changes. And for you, they've been changes to your social groups, to your friends, your friendship connections, organizations you've been connected to. But bigger and more important than that, I think, Pisces, are your long-range goals, dreams, and aspirations for yourself. Because as these have been changing significantly, things have been rising to the surface. Here, too, there's been a dying off so that things could live. There's been an empowerment coming about. As this has changed and you realize the goals that you really have for yourself, the aspirations you have, it'll make you make decisions now and feel empowered in it to align yourself with the right kind of friends, the right kind of tribe, so that y'all can be deeply passionate together and moving in the direction of the dreams and aspirations that you want. Now, on a very practical level, there could be friendships. There could absolutely just be friendships that are empowered, right? They are empowered. This is Pluto at 29 degrees. We know what we're doing here. So these could be some empowered friendships that are influential and take you forward in a direction you'd like to go. Now, when we get to the 13th, we've got Mercury moving into the vibration of Scorpio, fellow water energy, and this is going to light up your 9th house space. So Mercury traveling through the vibration of Scorpio is, first of all, going to intensify conversation. It's going to intensify our thinking. It's going to intensify what we're focusing on, right? So as this is here in the 9th house space, think publishing, marketing, broadcasting, teaching, international travel, faith, beliefs, these kinds of things are going to get a definite uptick in, first of all, the information that is coming to you and towards you in any direction, but also it's going to bring an impact into, you know, maybe something that you've wanted to study or you've wanted to teach, and now you're really seriously ready to go after it. You're like, yeah, I'm going to do it. You know, I'm going full on about this. I don't know if it's going to work out, but I'm definitely going full on. But the other thing is that you may be a bit more compelled to explore deeper or more complex philosophies or publishing or marketing strategies. Maybe, you know, you're in intense discussions with people who are foreign from you. That doesn't necessarily mean they come from a whole different country, but maybe they come from a different culture, a different side of the city, you know, but you're in these conversations. And the joy of it is that you're uncovering deep truths that feel like they have a lot more purpose to you now. On the 17th, we've got that full moon happening at 24 degrees of Aries, lighting up your 2nd house space. So this is an end, acknowledge, or adjustment to something financially that you've been doing, living in, taking on. But whatever it is showing that something has been inconsistent. There's been maybe a lack of planning or something like that. So you're needing to get a financial review of what's going on here. This could bring a little bit of financial drama, but hopefully you've made the changes that are needed, or you're braced and prepared for the changes that are needed, so that even if the boat gets rocked a little bit, you're still able to stay in and stay afloat. As we're going to close out this month, Pisces, on the 22nd, we see the sun come into the vibration of Scorpio. Now, Mercury has been doing all of this work in this 9th house space. Now, as the sun comes here into Scorpio, you are ready to take action on the decisions, the conversations, the path, the patterns that Mercury and Scorpio was bringing to the table. So enjoy it. I can't wait to see where you're traveling. I can't wait to see what foreign adventures you go on. I can't wait to see what new levels of faith and belief and philosophy come into your life. And my goodness, through all of it, you definitely have something that you can share, pour your medicine into, love on us, and teach us. So make sure you're not keeping it all to yourself and you share the magic with the rest of us, okay? All right, my beautiful Pisces, have a gorgeous month, and I'll see you in November.